about how we engage with the students. We can answer questions about field trips, logistics, our relationship with our student partners, which was really valuable when we were at each city. And then we also have about like 40 photos that we can sort of flip through with you guys. You can get a gist of what the classrooms look like, what the students look like, some key places in the city, and then we can take questions. How does that sound? Yeah? All right, so let's start by walking through the schedule. Is it okay if I do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so Qingdao was a really proactive group of faculty, and so they more or less scheduled our first 2 days for us. So you'll see on the schedule that day one there was a significant open ceremony, and I'd be surprised if you guys didn't also, and you'll see a picture of it, a big ceremony in the auditorium with a banner. And then we had a brief introduction with Hong, and then kind of immediately jumped into the real estate game because we knew that the next day was full of field trips, so we didn't want to get too underway with the curriculum. So we did gameplay, and Rick was kind enough to share all of his lectures with us, so we could go through his lectures, even though I don't think, maybe in Qingdao you were there on the first day, but in the other sites you weren't there, so we did your lectures for you.
Yeah, you did.
Then the school had set up field trips for us on Tuesday, and we'll tell you more about that when we show you the pictures. And then Wednesday was really our first day to get underway. And again, we had a guest lecture that was already pre-scheduled by the school, so we did that. And then kind of right off the bat, we wanted to start with icebreakers and asking the students to define for us what socially responsible real estate and development and planning meant to them. So we would get them to kind of go up on the board and create lists of a variety of topics. And we have available to you, the Word documents of all the topics that they brainstormed. And then we wanted to tell them a little bit about us. Since they had just told us about the things that they care about, we wanted to tell them a little bit about the US context. So we went through some basics on socially responsible real estate in the US and some case studies. And then had conversations about pro-growth, pro-preservation, because especially actually more so in Chongqing than in Qingdao, but the students really care about historic preservation because China is just tearing down so many buildings at such an alarming rate that this is a kind of source of passion and controversy for them. The next morning, I think Rick was still with us, we had them recreate the real estate game. And then we moved into an urban design and placemaking lecture because while, yes, we're talking about real estate specifically, of course there's the broader neighborhood context to be considered. So we went through exercises with like William White and how he views the city, and we have those lectures for you as well. And then we went over the assignment. And so in Qingdao we were really fortunate because the faculty member, Professor Ma, had already chosen a site for us, and this is called the Liyuan Historic District site, and so it's an architectural typology that the Germans had developed back when they ruled it as a colony in the late 1800s. And so basically what I did is I adapted from my real estate capstone studio that I had just completed it this spring to create this program. And so the way that it works is you're supposed to de-engineer a site. So you're supposed to take a look at a site and pull it apart and figure out what's working there, what's not working there, and then come up with a vision that's a socially responsible vision for the future. So we embed in this conversations about the quadruple bottom line, and then really the developer as entrepreneur, because I am a developer, I'm an affordable housing developer, I build senior housing, and I feel like developers are entrepreneurs. We look at a site and we have a vision, and we try to realize like what could happen on that site. And so we were asking them to, rather than focus on new construction, because there is this kind of passion around preservation, to look at the Liyuan and imagine that it's in good enough condition, how would you redevelop that typology in new and different ways? So we have, and Heather was there and saw it. They were cool ideas that the students came up with. And we can show you one example that the students did. And then on Friday morning, we all took a field trip out to go see the site together. And then students had the afternoon to themselves to go around, take pictures, brainstorm, have lunch, get to know each other, because these students didn't otherwise know each other, kind of similar to you. They came from different schools, they were different years, and so they needed to build camaraderie for week 2 which was kind of their time to shine and really dig into the project and feel like they could wrap their hands around it. So then, the next week on Monday, we created a lecture around business plans. Like, what are the basics of a business plan? How do you think through the vision, the mission, the implementation, the finances, the sustainability, all as it relates to, yes, real estate, but also marketing. And so we can share with you all those lectures. And then further expounded on socially responsible real estate case studies, talking about business improvement districts, talking about community land trusts, different ways that developers and communities are innovatively thinking. Then, kind of to give them a break and shift gears, in the previous week we'd asked them to brainstorm all the socially responsible real estate topics that they're passionate about, and that following Monday we asked them to work together in pairs to choose just one of those topics and give a 5-minute, super short PowerPoint presentation on that topic. So it could be renewable energy, it could be disabled and accessibility, it could be about different types of hiring. It didn't really matter. We didn't care what they chose as long as it was something that they were excited to work on. Then we gave them group time on Monday afternoon. Tuesday morning, we gave them kind of like a pump-up lecture to try to put their entrepreneurship hat on and think about the personality traits that define an entrepreneur and how they can express their own visions, how you get up in front of a room and try to convince someone of something you believe in. And then we gave them work time on Tuesday afternoon. We had a prearranged field trip on Wednesday morning. We had a prearranged guest lecture on Wednesday morning, and then a prearranged field trip on Wednesday afternoon by the Qingdao faculty. And then basically all day Thursday was group work time, and we insisted that Thursday at lunch, Thursday by noon, they give us their drafts of their PowerPoints so that we could review them and make sure that the thinking was cogent, logical, thought through, reflected the values of the workshop, which is a socially responsible real estate development workshop. And then we actually had them stand up and rehearse, because for all of them, English is their second language, so they needed the opportunity to do it in a safe space, just in front of the three of us, get our feedback. And then they had all of Thursday night to make those changes, to practice more. And then Friday morning, they gave the presentations. And then we said goodbye. So I know I went through that super fast, but I would say that in general, that was the way that we moved through the 2 weeks. And do you guys have anything to add to that? Because I went through it really fast.
Yeah, I guess the going back on icebreakers and classroom dynamic, I think the real estate games are the first really good icebreaker for students to bond, because they work in groups and they get really excited, they get in the game mode, they start talking to each other. So that was a really good way to warm people up. So that's why we used it on the first day. I guess the idea behind it is that the first week is mostly lecture and starting exploring the site, and then the second week is more presentation and student work time. And the presentation, some group, depending on the students, the Chongqing student, a lot of them spend time outside the classroom to work on the projects, so they might stay a little bit later at night or come in early in the morning or during lunchtime. And then the presentation itself, sometimes they do usually overrun, so maybe definitely use more time for that.
During the group work time, did you walk around and meet with them informally, or what did you do during that time?
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, so usually we'll break them into groups of 5 to 6, I think.
Yeah, 5 to
4 to
6.
6, around that number. And then we kind of just rotate around to check on them, what's their progress, or brainstorm with them together, and kind of see where they're at. So that way they're not super left out in any stages.
For our groups, there was a mix of years and majors, so we try to balance out the groups in terms of their experiences. Yours might be more concentrated.
Yeah.
Also, the schedule is like a guideline for, you can kind of estimate how long each of these took, and most of them are accurate, but sometimes they do need more time. Like, we try to minimize the amount of time we require them to work outside of the classroom. And every single day, so after class we would do a debrief and sort of we definitely moved some things around to fit the schedule, where we gave an extra 30 minutes to an hour for students whenever we could, if we think that it was necessary to complete the project.
Sorry, just a quick question about what you were saying about the sorting students with different skills into different groups. How did you make that assessment? What were the strategies that you used?
Like we're given a list. We asked the Chow and I forgot who from China, but like we asked for a list of students.
Dan got it to us before we arrived.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
everyone.
Professor Dan.
Okay. So like we sorted by them by major, by year, and then by gender. Yeah. So like I think in both schools we have majority girls. So I don't know if this is gonna be different this year.
In terms of logistics, make sure that your communication was correct upon arrival. Like we had some troubles with getting outdated material. They received outdated information, and then we didn't. And then apparently the updates didn't reach them, so there was some confusion there.
On the schedule.
We also made our own attendance sheets so that we knew which students were there in class. And sometimes students would like because of some difficulties would have to like drop out. So we also had to like restructure groups around in the event that that happens. Yeah.
Just for us though, we don't have the second week, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna have to really retool some of this
framework
stuff.
because you're taking over part of the second week.
But is he teaching the whole day?
I don't think so.
No, but I just mean we're gonna have to figure out that.
Yeah.
That's like I think the biggest difference that I'm hearing is like clearly like there's a lot of team formation stuff. That's some education and they're able to work a lot in the second week. But for us, it'll be different. Just some,
For us, Hong only taught one lecture at each site. So like 1 2-hour session, and that was the extent of his involvement.
How did you structure the field trips? Was there someone at the site who was giving you a tour, or were you also leading discussion?
I feel like
It was different in
And what-
different cities.
okay.
Yeah. Do you want
Or just some examples of how that worked?
Usually, for most of the field trips, the person in charge of that site was like gracious enough to give us a tour. So we didn't really have to. We're not the ones who like did the primary speaking during the site visit. In Chongqing, you'll probably have to find those sites yourself and organize those field trips yourself with the planners. In Qingdao, the staff was more hands-on, so you can definitely reach out to them for any help you needed.
They were two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
In Chongqing, the faculty didn't provide us with much support at all, and in Qingdao, they provided us with like more support than we needed. Wendy, do you want to talk about how you organized? Because you organized the guest lecture and the field trip in Chongqing.
Yeah. So for Chongqing, I think we had one guest lecture organized by Qiao from the urban planning department, and that was kind of set up last minute. We tried to confirm it, but it took a while to get it set up. Elise found an alumni, Tina, where
Yeah, from the real estate department.
yeah, and then she's from Chengdu, and she came to Chongqing to give a presentation on her work. And then she happened to know a developer in Chongqing, and that is developing a project called Testbed 2. That's like redevelopment of old factory. So we took the students there, and the developer there gave us a tour on that site. In terms of like. Yeah, in terms of like team projects, their project site, I kind of went through like a selection of popular destinations, malls, or like tourist sites where students are familiar with, and then asked them to think about what they can do to change it. But at the same time, we gave them the freedom to choose their own project.
Here, these were the sites that Wendy did her homework and chose.
So this
You're gonna get all of this.
Yeah, so Shibachi is like I think it's almost like demolished now.
I see them all.
Yeah.
It's like demolished right now.
Yeah.
But we did do the project on this site,
The art center.
the art center. One did it on the central like mall.
So you had different teams doing projects for different sites.
In Chongqing.
Yeah.
And
So
then
we
we
gave them the
changed it in Qingdao, so everyone did it on the same site.
So would you suggest that we try to choose one for everyone?
We had to change it because of constraints. So Chongqing was a really tight knit. There was public transport around the city.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
that's so true.
Qingdao, you would be
You're
an hour
driving
away from
everywhere.
new downtown and 2 hours away from the old downtown.
Oh.
And everything
Yeah.
you want to see would be in the old downtown. So
Yeah, it's
Actually,
not.
we should talk about the campuses, like how they're so different.
Yeah, I just
you can talk about the
So I think like we did give them the freedom to choose for Chongqing because they might be more familiar with the sites, so they might have a site in mind. That's what one group did. They chose their own. But in like Qingdao was harder to find sites online about like new tourist destination because it's mostly beaches. You couldn't find too much information, so the faculty was really crucial in helping us identify those sites.
Yeah. And just kind of briefly, like Chongqing is a huge city. It's like the university is kind of like BU. You're right off the main drag and you walk right in. And it's a full, maybe it's more like Columbia. You get right off of, Broadway and boom, there's a campus. And there's a green area and whatnot, but it's very much within an urban context. Whereas Qingdao is on the outskirts of the city. Students take taxis to go to the mall, to go to restaurants. Like it's much more suburban. So when you guys are living in those two places, you'll have very different like lifestyle experiences. Yeah.
And I think one thing at Qingdao, even though everything's far distant, the faculties are happy to like organize buses for you to take the students to that site.
Yeah.
But I think what ended up happening was the students they based on their schedule they went on their own. I think that was happened for us.
Yeah.
What else? Did you talk about student connections yet? Specifically
Oh,
the
the
real
student-
estate club. I think that would be really helpful.
Actually, before that, if just one of you want to talk about like David and the other, you want to talk about David, and you want to talk about Chen Chen and like their roles for us for our school.
So in Chongqing we had a student, my partner, David. He's an architecture student in Minnesota, and he's one of the faculty's sons. So he kind of like served as a TA, translator, or guide to everything in Chongqing. So that was really helpful. He helped us organize our like lodging. He took us to he kind of helped us to identify like, what are the better sites among our list to recommend to students. Within the classroom, he kind of helped. He not only helped set up the classroom, but also like any translation or liaison between the faculty. He kind of helped us out there.
Yeah. And because his background was in architecture, he could actually answer the students' questions when they wanted to dig into something further. Chen Chen.
We had similar experiences in Qingdao. So I guess a recommendation would be to interact with your students after class. There will probably be, the faculty of Qingdao will probably assign a couple of students to be your sort of guides or translators. But if you really want to like get the best out of it, you would need to befriend them, I guess, in a way. Because we definitely hung out a lot after classes in groups of the students. It was kind of different between the places, I guess, depending on how the dynamics worked. We were lucky that many of the students we met in Chongqing and Qingdao were pretty outgoing, and they kind of reached out to us. But yeah, so if you encounter any difficulties, you could definitely, like, whenever you need help, it's definitely okay to like reach out to the faculty. And if there are like any cultural barriers, definitely reach out to the students to ask them for their opinions too.
And actually, I mean, so as someone that doesn't speak, well, what, I maybe speak 20 words instead of 0.
No, I feel a lot more than that.
I learned a little bit while I was there, but it was invaluable to have Wendy and Wei be able to actually go from student group to student group around the classroom and say, do you understand this? Do you need clarification? Do you have thoughts that you want to develop further? I can talk this out with you. Because I would try to go around, but the students didn't feel super comfortable asking the question in English, whereas they felt much more comfortable asking it in English/Chinese with Wendy and Wei. And then actually when they gave their final presentations, one thing that we discovered is they do feel comfortable giving the presentation in English, but they want the Q&A afterwards from the faculty and from their peers to be in Chinese. Because that's more like thinking on your feet, you're not quite sure like what question's gonna come your way, and you can't really look up the vocabulary that you really want to answer the question the way you feel like you're actually able to. So definitely letting them do Q&A in Chinese is valuable.
And I think one point that I just remember is that it's probably best if you send your PowerPoints or any documents to them beforehand. That's what they ask, because it takes, like, even if you just go at a slow pace, like, they're not gonna catch up a lot of it, especially technical terms. So I think that would be very helpful. You don't even have to translate to Chinese because they will do it on their own.
And what was it hosted on, QQ? Or you could just upload it to WeChat.
WeChat, yeah.
Yeah,
I think those,
You do that kind of like day by day for what's coming
like the
next.
night
or-
before.
Yeah.
we did that before. But
Yeah.
if you guys want to prepare, like, if you send it before the whole program, that probably be the best thing.
Yeah, but we definitely didn't.
So-
We had it ready like a day or two ahead of time.
Yeah, there was changes.
Yeah.
And be sure to clarify the terms because sometimes students are just quiet about it or they don't want to speak up and ask.
They're pretty shy about asking questions.
It
Yes,
was-
they are.
It was also difficult to translate some of the terms even with like Google or Baidu. One of the biggest assets with David was that since he's an architectural student, he could actually say some of those really like stylistic terms in Chinese that we
And they
wouldn't
got it
otherwise find.
immediately.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So one of the ways that we try to gauge their level of understanding, their level of interest, is that we used short journal entries at the beginning of the next day. So on Tuesday morning, we would have 2 questions or 3 questions up on the bulletin board, and we would ask them to respond to it in English. You know, what was your favorite part about yesterday? Do you have any questions? Or did you,
I think we did it at the
was
end
it,
of
was
the
it
day.
at the
We
end
did
before they
both.
left?
We did
both, yeah.
just one
And
was
that
slow.
was really useful, and they were like honest with us. It seemed to me like they were very honest with us, and so that way we could understand how they were feeling about the program.
And that way you can get, oh yeah.
Well, just did you do that electronically or did they handwrite and?
They
Handwrite.
handwrote it.
The handwriting. And I think they did it in English. So we did have the option for them to write in Chinese. Some of them are not comfortable. And like that way it's a really good way for you to get feedback on how fast you're going or how slow, what is getting them interested, what's not working out. It's a really great way of getting feedback.
And we really just had them handwrite it on a piece of paper with a pencil. Like,
We
kept
try
it
to
simple.
do it as offline as possible because there's
Yes.
definitely going to be communications constraints.
Your Wi-Fi is so spotty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially if you're trying to work through a VPN.
Mhm.
You know, like doing your search through a VPN and then on their Wi-Fi, it's really slow. Yeah. What else? You guys asked about well, we answered your question about icebreakers, relationships with partners, logistics.
A question about the icebreakers, like, if we have some activities that we're planning to ask for, like, say, volunteers to go up and, like, give an elevator pitch or something, like, how difficult is it to,
Get it on the spot.
yeah, to get someone to volunteer for something in front of everybody?
I don't think they're shy. Like in terms of
They just need time to prep, like they need a
They
whole
need-
day.
Okay.
like they want to write things down before they talk.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what they feel like.
Yeah.
So cold calling is a no?
No, yeah, it's no.
Oh, but actually I did do that too. I think. Yeah, in the first electronics team when we brainstorm on like the different topics they're interested in,
It's hard.
no one was talking. Like
Right.
we couldn't get them talk, but they had ideas because they came on the board and write it down. Right.
Oh, that's what we did.
Yeah.
Right. We were like, what do you think? Raise your hand. No one did. And we're like, okay, everyone go write it on the board. So everyone just stood up and then the board was full. But no one had to say anything.
Probably like the written, they're way more comfortable with the written
Way more,
part.
Yeah.
And then they wanna like memorize stuff as they're.
Not right, but
I
at least
think-
something to look at or
Yeah,
check it.
okay.
But I think what I ended up doing was I actually just went to each person and kind of talk, like let them talk in front of the class. So that way you kind of like they force everyone to talk a bit at first.
Yeah.
And kind of you can see where their English level is at. So cool.
And sorry,
Yeah.
creeping in from the back. One thing you guys did that I thought was really helpful, and I think I mentioned it to you guys last week, is you guys had the teams. And then you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna call on one team to answer this question, right? So that way people can share in their small group about what they're gonna say,
Yeah.
and then one person who's more comfortable can share out. So there's a lot of time given, a lot of peer support given, and they're prepared to answer the question. So it doesn't feel like cold calling, even though it has like that element of requiring preparedness.
Yeah.
Yeah, give them time, at least 2 or 3 minutes to think about the questions, let them discuss in groups and then share. That's one thing important. Don't expect you give an answer and have a response.
Yeah, and they're gonna be on their phones and laptops a ton looking up words. They're just like constantly looking up vocabulary all the time. Yeah. How about we can go through some of our photos? They're like, we tried to pick representative ones.
Oh, was that in the negotiation game?
Hmm?
Yeah.
This one was. No.
Can you give a couple examples of icebreakers in addition to the real estate game?
Yeah, so we also did a negotiation exercise. It's kind of like I took a Sloan class, like where they did a lot of like case studies where you play a role in each. So we had developed a game for real estate developer, the city government, and the
And then the local neighbors.
local neighbors,
Yeah,
and then
like fighting it out.
yeah, so like they each have a role and they each have an incentive. So like they want, for example, a certain condition to get up certain points. So each of them will, like, right now you can see Wei was like prepping with all the maybe developers together, right, to max out the strategy, how they're gonna approach this negotiation. And then we brought them into a 3-person group, one developer, one government official.
I was gonna say, I think, yeah, these
That's
would have
nice.
been the developers, I think we were the government and you were the citizens.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I lost.
Yeah, you lost over that.
Yeah, so-
Citizens lost.
Yeah, so like we talk it out first, and then they'll get into their team and kind of negotiate. And I think that's a really exciting something they don't really learn in classroom. I think that you can really bring them. It's really fun for them.
Yeah, and I bet Larry Susskind would have a bunch of short negotiations that you could adapt. They really had a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
And role playing is also great for language acquisition and understanding in general.
Yeah. So this is what the School of Architecture looks like at Chongqing, and so the classrooms are on each side of this inner courtyard. That's what the school looks like. And then this is just kind of a general image of the street in Chongqing. All the buildings are about this big, pretty tall.
A lot of malls.
Lots of malls. One place that we went just for fun to go see a temple. This is what the peninsula looks like. So I think there's, maybe not in here, but there's other photos. When you look up Chongqing, you'll see that it's a peninsula. More images of the river. Hong giving his lecture. This was Tina Tong, who's the real estate grad. She was a year above me, so she got her MSRED in 2015. She gave a lecture about being a for-profit real estate developer in China. This is our visit to the Testbed 2 site. And then the group. And so this was, right, a former factory that was being converted into like co-working space, industrial arts space, that type of thing. It was modeled after Testbed 1, which started in London.
That's her project specifically.
It's her friend's project.
That's really cool though, that, like, there's
Yeah.
a connection to it.
Yeah, so this is in Chongqing.
We're trying to think of like projects that have a social responsible element to it that they can learn from and like get ideas for their own projects.
So this is innovative and it's for profit, but it's also a preservation project. So everything's a balancing act.
Great.
Yeah.
Would you suggest that we reach out to Tina? Do you think
Yeah,
she'd
you
want to be
definitely
involved
could.
again?
Yeah. The group. This is one of the groups giving their presentation. So this is what the classroom looked like. And so there was a place where you could put your laptop and plug into the projector up front, and then rows of desks on either side. Oh shoot, that's Hong Kong.
Sort of.
Yes, sir.
Why did that happen?
And I guess what they want to organize field
Sorry,
trips,
guys.
especially with like school faculty, what they can consider is the MIT brand. People like when we're organizing with Testbed, the developer themselves, they're asking, can we do an interview or like what kind of how are you representing MIT? They were interested in like maybe doing is that like promoting their site. So make sure you make a clear understanding of
Yep.
the standing.
So this is actually what the historic homes used to look like.
Wow.
But there are hardly any of those left. They're called hanging homes. So this is a sculpture in dedication to what those hanging houses used to be.
Can we make it bigger?
Yeah, it's just like I didn't make up. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Could you see what the hanging house looks like again?
Yeah.
It does.
That's probably going to be demolished.
It's probably gone by now. Yeah, but it was cool to see.
It's called Shibati if you guys are interested.
Okay. Just like the city, lots of construction everywhere. This is the classroom. You're gonna go out to dinner. You're gonna basically go on dates every night for dinner. That's what we did. Like the three of us had every meal together for 6 weeks. Yeah. You can also have meals with the students. This is all of us in the dining hall. And that was really nice. It's the students doing the printed version of the real estate game, which was definitely like a different dimension. I'm glad, because they got bored, frankly. They
Yeah,
got
that's
bored
true.
of the tablet after a while, so
Yeah.
this was a different way to think about it.
And
Is
they
it
were
the same
recreating-
game, just on paper?
No, they were
Yeah.
creating the game.
To recreate?
Are
I'll
they
talk
not-
about the differences, but yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, if you wanna talk about like how effective, if this was more effective than the other, or just differently?
Some was more effective, but they did get to, if they wanted to, they could change the rules. It was easier for them to do that. If they wanted to come up with a different scenario or different typologies, they could do that.
It's more creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were creating for them.
Yeah. students, fun. There were some cool displays and models at the school. You saw those, you saw this, sorry, it got out of order. Okay, now we're in Qingdao. So it kind of looks German, right? There's this whole historic section that makes you feel like you're in Germany. This is the historic downtown. And then they had these huge banners to describe us and our group when we arrived. That was pretty crazy. This is playing the game, the beach. So yeah, and this was the biggest banner of Hong, like Hong's face was huge. And then there was another huge banner. We went into an auditorium, there was another, they love banners. We took more group photos with the banner.
Yeah, that was the opening ceremony, I think.
And then after the opening ceremony, you go to meals. Actually, you guys should tell them the etiquette for meals, because I didn't know at first.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of etiquette that you have to know about these formal meals. Do you remember?
We didn't talk much.
Yeah, one, we don't, actually, that's part of it. One, we are not expected to talk that much.
It was more
Like,
like
it is
between-
not our place.
It's more like faculties at home or like, I guess the
Yeah.
organizer versus, like if they ask you a question then yeah, talk. Oh, actually, one thing is that when you're in Chongqing, we had like a welcome dinner and like a thank you dinner organized by the faculties. So that was organized by the faculty and they took care of everything. In Qingdao, like we had an opening welcome like lunch, but like since Han, the main groups were not there, we had to like organize a thank you dinner for the faculties. So we had to pick a location and order the dishes and like pay for everything ahead of time and just took them out for lunch.
Yeah.
So that's something I think is.
But so the etiquette, you guys help
I don't know,
but it was like,
you.
it was like the dean, so this is the dean in the middle, this is her, she's really nice. She would open it and then the guest of honor sat to her right, and then there would be, oh, also, they hand out a glass of wine, but you're not expected to like finish it until the very end of the meal. So it's not like, because I made that mistake, it's not like in the US where they pour you a cup of wine and you finish it after like, you know, maybe your first course and you're ready for a second. No, that one glass of wine is your one glass of wine for dinner, and like they don't expect that they're gonna, it's not France. They don't expect that they're gonna like pour you lots of wine. And it doesn't taste that great, so you're like not missing it.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
Is that true out at the beer though?
Oh, they
No, they would-
known
they
for their
would
beer,
pour
so like
beer
they
more.
would just like
That's
advocate
true.
for their beer. So you should
Yeah.
you have to
They
try
asked
it
for more
first.
beer, but like the wine thing was very particular.
Yeah.
Beer
Beer though.
The table also spins in the direction of the guest of honor until, yeah, that's what happened, right?
We-
And then they're
Or don't
supposed
be the
to
first
spin it
picker
first
unless they tell you.
until everyone's eaten, and then you're at liberty to spin the table to the dish that you want. Like, there's just lots of
I mean, it's not that
rules to
strict.
be aware.
They won't, like, I don't think they'll mind. if
No, they
you
won't
break
mind, but just know.
It's
like,
fun.
follow along.
It's really fun.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Breaking the rules are really fun.
Yeah, you were at this, I think.
I was totally at this
You
one.
were at this
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, you were sitting next to me.
Yeah.
That's your cup in
Yeah.
the corner.
And this was after like I was there for, I think we both cottoned on to these things like at this one.
Yeah, this was the
Oh.
first one we were like, oh, we get
This
it
is how
now.
it works. Yeah.
What's most appropriate with payment for a meal like this, in this kind of setting?
Oh, no, they pay for it.
Yeah, they did for all this stuff.
But
They
you
invite you,
put up
they
a
pay.
show trying to pay?
No.
No. But the one we
Definitely
organized for the thank you, we did pay for it ahead of time, so there was no fuss about it.
Yeah, we just paid. And it wasn't much. What was it, like $30 each? It was like a $90 meal for, was it, well, 600 yuan
Yeah.
So,
But-
yeah, in the end,
to feed like 8 or 9 people. It wasn't, it's
We also
not.
And we had like a lot of food.
yeah.
It was a ton of food.
Oh, yeah,
It's not
this-
onerous.
Leftover food is it's better to order more food than not enough.
Oh yeah, you have to order too much food. And then you're allowed to bring it home.
It's always full.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, a lot of buildings in Qingdao look like this, and there's little public transportation infrastructure, so there's just roads and roads and roads and highways and traffic and more traffic and more traffic. We went on a tour of this developed retail kind of space, think outlets, right? And it's completely vacant. They built the whole thing and it's empty. We went to this place called Glorious Palace, which is run by a very large developer called Longfor. We did a tour of their most luxurious home. We weren't sure why, but we did. And then that afternoon, we toured the Liyuan. So we had a day of pretty extreme contrasts, and that was interesting. And then here's another picture of the inner courtyard of the Liyuan. we also had fun and went on some weekend trips. So in Chongqing, we
We went
We went
hiking
to-
to
went
Wulong.
hiking.
It was
Oh, yeah.
really beautiful. And the air, oh yeah, Chongqing, the air pollution is pretty bad. But when you go out city with the mountains, like it was really nice. You can breathe, it's so fresh. Definitely recommend checking that place out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we did a tour bus.
And we did everything, and also you should note, like Indian Way organized all of our own side trips, and we did them with Chinese tour groups. So we did it through a travel agent. We didn't just do it ourselves. Yeah.
In Qingdao, it might be better to some of the students actually hike up the mountains and like have their own like more obscure, more natural routes. We recommend that one over the tourist route
Yeah.
throughout Qingdao.
Going on I do recommend you go on like one Chinese tour to get it understanding of
But
the
it's bad.
experience.
This is bad. This is
Um,
bad.
It's totally different. Yeah. This is the classroom in Qingdao, and there'll be more pictures of that. This is a picture of the mall. So like the malls are very new, very luxe. There was a huge grocery store in the mall that was closest to us. It felt very European, more so in Qingdao, of course, than in Chongqing. Night market. Okay, so here's an image of the classroom in Qingdao. So we had our laptop kind of ad hoc set up at the front with a pop-up projector. And we were in this classroom because it had air conditioning.
It's actually the office space for the art or the architecture
Yeah.
department, I think. It's
Mhm.
not like a classroom.
And this is another image of the classroom. Students presenting their 5-minute presentations on a topic that they're passionate about in pairs, working on their VUN. This was a guest lecturer. And then we went to these places called on a field trip to Rubber Valley and Traffic, here, makerspace of Rubber Seed. So we went to Rubber Valley, we went to Traffic Valley. They're all named Valley after Silicon Valley because the government is putting in a tremendous amount of money to incubate entrepreneurship and startups in Qingdao. So here's Rubber Valley. We also learned about some culture. And these are paper cuts, so we went and met with a woman who's famous for her paper cuts. So here she's, doing her craft, and then this is what she makes. Like she does it instantly in a minute or two, and it's really beautiful. Here's Traffic Valley. the banner, because you can't go anywhere without the banner.
Leave your mark.
I just thought that the translation of this was really funny. Entrepreneurship Nursery. I think this is also Traffic Valley, doing presentations. And then this is what the Liyuan typology looks like as an aerial. So it's a rectangle of homes around in their courtyard. This is just pictures of some of the slides that they put together. And this was our group in Qingdao. So it was a smaller group. In Chongqing we had about 40. In Qingdao we had just barely 20.
When we gave out like the finish certificate or the
yeah.
letter thing.
Yeah. And then this was our faculty. So was this John?
Oh, sure. He's like the
Yeah.
main director coordinator for field trips and everything.
He was a nice man, wasn't he? I know. And then this was Professor Ma.
Yeah, she's the one that have been working on Libya and really knows this architecture student.
Yeah. And that's the end because now this is Hong Kong. So yeah. Hopefully some of those pictures were helpful. We have tons more, but didn't want to overwhelm you with all of them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Then we turn it over to you. Anything else?
Can we email you all as things come up?
Definitely. And actually, we could probably do WeChat intros to make sure that you have like Xiao's WeChat and Professor Ma's WeChat, right? Because we
I
have.
think they added them to
Did
the
you do that?
I added
I
them to
have-
the groups.
I
have
Outside of the groups
contacts.
specifically.
You have all their
Yeah,
WeChats?
and
Okay.
I haven't had Workbook has WeChat. So
Oh,
can
yeah,
you
I forgot my password and trying to figure it out.
You locked me out. Watch
So
out.
I tried to
Yeah, I locked you
I
out.
can forward their
Lock on.
contact to all people.
Okay.
One thing about like contacting faculty is that make sure you use WeChat and like send all the most updated documents.
You can send documents through WeChat too. It's a really powerful system with PDFs and stuff. Did you talk? Sorry, did you talk?
There's a web app. That's the way to do that. It's like a desktop support.
Well, we did
Pretty
like,
easy.
like nothing.
Oh,
I know, but he has, Sai has their WeChat info, so I was just thinking about
Oh.
if you guys think it would be appropriate to reach out and leverage or not.
I think about this.
Like, I have the contact, but I don't think they're doing.
Okay, yeah.
The
so-
Chongqing organizers might have already graduated.
Guys,
Oh,
you have
really?
to,
Okay.
like, call us about ready, it's about before. There's actually a group, six,
Alright.
Oh, no, no,
six
no,
in
yeah.
China here
It was
now.
context or.
Okay,
They're supposed to be
great.
hosting,
Do you
they
guys
are
have any
hosting.
suggestions
They're
as to
now
who you
at
think?
Firebrand
You
Saints,
can tell
which is
them,
bar
like-
near Sloan. So if anyone wants to come over, it's nice out.
Like,
Sure,
and
I
have
can
We can do the
contact
intro to
David Devine,
David, and
David,
David can
but
talk
you
to
wanna
his
meet two students from
parents.
China now. They're from
That's
Oberlin
pretty
University.
Right?
Beijing,
That's
China.
too much of a stretch.
I think it's easier if you
Yeah,
talk to, because
I
I know.
haven't
I
been
can't
today.
remember who it was. I know
But I'm
there
trying
was
to.
one girl
Uh,
that was
Lugano.
Okay.
connected with
Yeah.
Saul,
So
who's
it's just gonna go 100K things.
organizing the day.
Yeah, yeah. There's 100K things today. Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get
If you
people
guys-
from that
I feel
event
like
to get
you
drinks
guys are
too.
in trouble
So
sort of trying to find
I haven't decided. I'm supposed to be
about that, we should
hosting.
probably just
Figure out
let
where.
it be and let-
Cool.
yeah.
Unless you guys think.
You make your way over
Utility
there.
of
Can you make your way over to
Yeah.
Firebrand Saints?
No,
I'll
this
decide.
student
I'm in
groups
the midst of
themselves.
writing.
Thesis, yeah, you guys have a
Literally
thesis.
nothing
Both of
Yeah.
you probably, right?
Yeah.
No?
Oh,
You don't live that life?
Not always that way.
Yeah.
We have to
I-
do two.
No, I
For
didn't.
Qingdao, they're probably set.
Okay.
Just one?
Just one.
A transportation master
Alright.
plan?
That sounds good.
Maybe Chow would find something.
I'm gonna tell each program that I'm doing my thesis for the other program.
Find her
Brilliant.
office number online.
That's not funny.
Bother her department officer.
Yeah.
So I think
It's like Sean had to make all these.
Usually
Is that through like
Yeah.
school?
Yeah.
or-
We should try to do
Okay.
that.
Okay, cool.
We have a China art class, so.
Oh,
were
we should tell
Shanghai,
you
and then
in
students already-
Qingdao, but maybe we're wrong about this, but you're gonna live in
This
a
is the India China.
hotel that's not really a hotel.
That's super interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's where you guys are gonna
I'd
be again.
interested in those
Yeah,
opportunities.
so like it's a hotel, but it's
I
not
have a really
because
Wait,
you have to
no.
bring your own towels, you have to bring your own toilet paper,
So,
you have to bring,
easy.
and you also always have to do your own
Put
laundry
yourself-
everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So you have to do it, and then you need to like buy hangers or buy something to like actually hang your clothes, cause you're gonna hang them in your room,
Wait,
like
I think
in the shower or
Oh, really?
whatever.
Interesting.
And the
We can talk
Qingdao
about
campus had a curfew. I think it's.
Oh yeah, the
Oh,
gates
yeah.
closed, I forgot.
That's good to know.
Yeah, the gates closed.
Yeah.
Like how many?
There's
the
a back gate closes,
A
and
back
in order to get a main gate, you have to go through like taxi. It's like a longer ride.
Yeah.
You
There's
can walk through.
you can get in, but like it's just more complicated. Yeah.
And the food is very
It's
different.
Probably 11 or 12. I
In-
can't quite-
In both cities,
Oh.
because like in Chongqing it's known for spicy food, and in Qingdao it's known for seafood. They're
Yeah.
totally different. Yeah. So Chinese food is not just Chinese food, like at all. They are so different. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we mostly ate on campus for Qingdao for
Oh,
like
yeah.
meals, lunch, because
Very
it was
Breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
because that's the closest thing.
But in Chongqing, yeah, we went off campus. Just like how you would like walk out of Columbia University and just go to a sandwich shop. But definitely not in Qingdao.
Not sandwiches.
And don't lose your phone. My phone got stolen because I was really irresponsible about it. We had to go to the police, and you cannot get a data card unless you have a Chinese ID. And when you buy data, you only get data in that province. And then if you go to another province, you have to buy data again, but then you have to show an ID card again.
Really?
So it gets really
I
complicated.
don't know that.
Can you get one of your
Yeah,
Friends
you
buy
can
for
use
you,
your
or-
SIM card whenever in China. You just need to buy one. The data works all over China.
That's not what we were told.
You don't buy
Maybe that
data.
you didn't buy the right one.
I think it's because you didn't want to buy it and then leave it and then have
No,
trouble.
because it was just a SIM card. Oh, it's because I didn't want to leave an account.
Yeah,
Okay.
she didn't. Yeah.
And if you buy a SIM card, you need to present your ID like a passport. That's the
Mhm.
problem. But
You have to have a Chinese
I
ID.
think now you can, so we
Did
were
they
the-
change it?
I don't know what, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I know that some people got them as recently as March, that were non-nationals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I ran into huge issues trying to get data when I lost my phone.
Really?
So, yeah.
Good to know though, either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking
And
the
make
risk.
sure you have a VPN on your phone so you can use Google Maps because it's really helpful.
don't use Google Maps in China. Use
I do
Baidu.
that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But you can only use Baidu if you can read Chinese.
I think you can download English version.
Can you?
There's
I didn't know that.
Okay.
It's hard to
We'll
search
figure
place
that
up.
So I'm just
though.
saying
Yeah.
like, yeah,
It's hard to search.
Gmail through VPN,
yes,
is that what you guys do?
Mine too will give you a VPN too. That worked for me at least.
but did it work for you though? Cause you had difficulty with it, like I bought ExpressVPN for $10 a month and I didn't have too many issues.
Yeah, we relied on that one the most. I think.
I ended up using the VPN for the group, cause MIT's didn't work so well.
We try to do everything as offline as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're thinking about, I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question. Are we? Okay. We were thinking about planning to do social events. And we wanted to know like what you guys observe as what things they would get excited about. Karaoke.
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 What about like a end of the camp dance party?
and the what dance?
Uh,
I don't know if they would dance.
I don't know if there would be a place in like the classroom, like a dance party in a classroom.
I don't know, I thought it was.
No.
There definitely
It's
there aren't that many locations they can dance.
I think karaoke can easily turn into a dance.
Yeah, I
party,
think it's a
right?
better
Yeah,
selection.
just do a lot of
Yeah.
karaoke.
Karaoke.
And it's
Some
awesome
moves.
karaoke, it's really clean, there's
It's like
good
KTV
food,
style?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's great karaoke.
And hot pot for Chongqing.
Yes, yeah, the students loved that when we all went to Hot Pot together,
Yeah.
that was cool.
They basically ordered and organized.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what to order?
Mhm. Yeah, so definitely doing karaoke is a good idea. Okay,
Thanks.
yeah,
Yeah.
alright. Yeah, go for it. You got it.
So, yes.
Oh, there's a
Thank you guys.
So do you want me to give you the lectures? Oh, and so I'm giving you guys the lectures, it's a compilation of like my own stuff, a little bit of the real estate development studios, it's a little bit of John Kinney's entrepreneurship class, and I would say like, if you take like concepts or like stuff that, just like try to give me like some credit sometimes, if possible.
Yeah. Okay, great, so I'll just make sure I get them. Is that, oh, that's on your Dropbox?
Yeah. Just take one of you, sorry, go ahead.
Alright, thanks. We're thinking about fun stuff, so I'm gonna talk about some fun stuff. First, we'll talk about some more learning stuff. I'm from the Game Lab. We've been working with the STL Lab for about a year and a half now. Creating a game and thinking about using games to explore entrepreneurship and socially responsible real estate development. And so this is a design research project where we are developing the game, running tests live, piloting it in the summer camps. Eventually this game will live beyond the summer camp and be used for hopefully, definitely our blended learning classrooms that the STL Lab is doing, and hopefully even in the MOOCs. So while you're using the game in your classrooms, it is, for one, it's fun first, learning second. It's a fun experience for them to guide them into the learning experience, but it doesn't do everything for you. And we'll talk a little bit about what it is good at and what it is not good at. It is also, you'll also be testing it while you're there. You'll be testing it for us, and giving us some test data for it. And so there will be a little bit of data collection we'll be asking you to do. It's minimally invasive stuff. We'll give you the tools and everything for that. Great. So the game is called Livable Cities, and this was the pitch document for it. A picture of the Tianjin explosion disaster, and saying the Chinese system of real estate development is an exciting way to operate as an entrepreneur within the Chinese economy. The thing that we wanted to capture with the game was allowing the students to experience failure in various different ways, and to help them figure out how they can get past some of the problems and think about some of the problems that occur in real estate development. And the focus of the game is to build responsibly or recklessly. The game's going to lead you in one direction or the other. Largely, if you concentrate on the short-term rewards, it's going to lead you in a reckless direction where everything falls apart in the end. The city is gone, and all the money that you thought you had is now no longer there. If you plan long term, which the game kind of fights you against, the game doesn't give you the tools to really think about the long term. The city does well, you all make money, you all get reputation, and you all thrive near the end. So by the end of the game, we ask players to basically ask themselves, for one, how can we develop real estate in a socially responsible way? But also more short term for the game. When they create the game, it shows them a city at the end, and we want them to ask themselves, would they want to live in the city that they just created? Is this the place they want to be? Our inspirations for the game were the digital game SimCity and City Skylines. They both are great games on their own. They do their own. They do very specific ways of using urban studies and urban planning in the game. So we weren't recreating those. Instead, what we were doing was looking at urban city building board games like these right there. We played a bunch of these different games to identify what kind of game mechanics we could mine for this to use in the game. The idea being, with SimCity or City Skylines, they're kind of black boxes. You kind of don't know what's going on in there. It has a system behind it. It's hard to figure out. With board games, all the rules are there. You know how the system works, and yet you still see emergence inside of the system. And that's kind of what we're playing around with as a design project. We wanted to make a digital board game that does the good things digital games do: data tracking, making calculations for you, but also has some of the good things these board games do. Playing multiplayer with other people that you can see. It's a tablet-based game, but also exposing as much of the system to you as you can, so that you can see the rules and better understand the rules. So our model of the system, this is from talking with, we worked with David Geltner and Dr. Hong on this. The systems at play that we have inside of the game, reputation is the biggest one. You win by having the best reputation. Reputation kind of means getting access to bigger markets, repeat customers, and more opportunities, but it also is getting blamed for disasters and having restrictions from failures. There's risk-taking involved, so you can cut corners. In a larger version of the game, we could call it exploiting regulation or profiting from windfalls that kind of exists in the game right now. You are raising capital and you are managing your land use, although it's not, none of this, it's a game, not a simulation. So if you've done any of Larry Susskind's simulations, it's not that. It's very much an entertainment game, an entertainment product. But it has the same kind of abstract systems that they can get these concepts and get an understanding from these concepts by playing. There's societal benefits, so they need to think about happiness in the community and developing the area to become more profitable and more livable. One thing, going back to some of these kinds of games, some of these games have people represented in the city, some of them don't. Our game doesn't have people in the city, so that's kind of, it's an abstraction we did because of the time we had to make it, but it's also something we'd like them to keep in mind after they play. Like, if there were citizens in the city, how would they act? What would they do? What would they want to see happen? It's kind of showing that when you make an abstraction, when you make a simulation, when you make a model, there's always something you leave behind, and that's one of the reasons why we like the board game. That gives them an opportunity to try to bring people back into the system and imagine what the game looks like once we put people back in it. And then environmental impact, which we have that in the game, creating waste, creating damage. When they play the game, we want them to take all three of these different roles. For the most part, you are a real estate developer, but we want them to think about themselves as city planners and entrepreneurs as well. We don't tell them explicitly what they are. When they play, afterwards we ask them, what do you think you were doing? Why were you doing it in the game? But generally the types of actions that they're taking are real estate development actions. They are placing a building onto a field, into the game and making money from selling that building off.
So does the game, is it like a spring-loaded trap, but it only works once, like once a student has gone through it, they know how the universe works? And
No, it takes about 2 or 3 types of playthroughs to really understand it.
Okay.
And even more so, I mean, often they will play it twice, have some pretty good conversations with it, and then for what I'm finding with Chinese players is they like a very particular kind of game, which doesn't require a lot of brain power. It's very reactive and not requiring a lot of future thought. This is pretty heady. It can make your head hurt to get around it. And so when they're reacting against the game, it's usually because it's not matching their expectations as a game, and that's one of the things we're kind of working on. As Western developers, we're making, and as for the SDO lab, we're using it in these Chinese summer camps. We want to be global. So that's definitely something we've been realizing as we've been working on it. But from the point of view, that's another reason why we have the board game. But there's also multiple ways to play the game. You can play with 4 people playing against each other, or the way they prefer to play is 4 people playing with each other, comparing their city to another team, 4 people playing. And that's what we're gonna model today. So the learning context, it's being played in the classroom. It's a short amount of play time. We've got a 30-minute game and a 60-minute game, and we'd like to use both. The 30-minute experience is just to learn how it works. The 60-minute is to test your theories and to figure out, see if you figured out what the system's like. And it is replayable. If you're interested in play and how we think about play at the Game Lab, and why we're using it in a learning context, this is kind of how I imagine play, or one of the ways we can imagine play, as involving in some way. All play involves a little bit of collaboration, a little bit of competition, and a little bit of spectation, which is something that a lot of people forget about. If you're interested in esports at all, spectation is really huge in that, watching other people play. From a learning context, through competition, they can test strategy. Through watching people's competition, they can kind of interrogate the system and ask questions about the system. Through spectation, it's kind of where the reflection and analysis comes from. We would like the learning in games often happens after you've played and when you're talking about the game afterwards. Through collaboration, they're sharing strategies with each other. And yeah, that's it. Sorry. I'm kind of speeding through this so we can get through playing the game itself. So generally when we see people playing the game, sometimes they're competitive, sometimes they're collaborative, and like I mentioned earlier, what they really like to do is team versus team competition rather than individual competition. So I would highly recommend starting with that, mainly, and not even bothering with individual competition. This is actually in Qingdao with some high school students. When they were playing the game, this is the kind of feedback we got from them. And this is the kind of feedback we're looking for, and that's both helpful in a learning context and helpful for us in just understanding if the game is doing what we're trying to get it to do. They'll say things like, I feel like a real estate entrepreneur because they're considering the costs and benefits. Because one student said, just like in real life, sometimes we get too much money and ignore the impact on others to win the game, but then it turns out to be a failure in the end. And for feeling like an urban planner, one of the things they're thinking about is the system. When they talk about urban planning, they're often talking about the systems of the game, of how the buildings kind of connect to each other. As an urban planner, it's not only profits that are important. You need to think about the connections of the functions to achieve a sustainable development. We also played with professionals. So this is playing with some developers in Xiamen. The really cool thing about this one, we didn't think would happen, but it did. It allowed us to have a really frank discussion about the problems with incentive systems. These were a government planner, a architectural designer, and 2 developers. And they were all talking about why developers were bad and why the government was bad and how they can help because of these incentive systems that were going on. That bureaucracy without enforcement isn't effective, but governmental intervention can cause bad issues. So this was a really good point for me to realize that we were going in a good direction. And I'm hoping that through time we'll get this, that the students are able to have these kind of conversations. So thinking about bringing the game into your curriculum, It's great as a discussion and conversation starter for English language learning, and I have some notes on how to use it for English language learning. It's also really good, like they mentioned, as an icebreaker or a team building activity. If you are going to be able to have them in teams for the rest of the week, if you play the game when they know what their teams are, it can help with that bonding. But it's also good even if you aren't able to do that. Connecting the game, the systems in the game to concepts in real estate, entrepreneurship, urban planning, and social responsibility. We're not using a lot of technical terms, so it's going to require from them translation of when they see something happening in the game. A good question to ask them is, when you see this happen, what is it? If they've already taken a class or they already had some experience in urban planning, it allows them to kind of express it in English, and then they can say whether or not they think it's right or not inside of the game. And then the board game version is really good to emphasize other systems that we didn't include, or even to correct the game. When we put the game in front of people, I think I have this on a later slide, we basically say this is one interpretation, this is one perspective, it is not going to be completely accurate. What do you think is right, and what do you think is wrong? And it's basically it's a way to have those kind of discussions, where you can they can be the expert. It's one of the great things with games is we're allowing them to be the expert rather than having somebody tell them everything. They already have some knowledge. The game kind of helps you bring that knowledge out. And then for English language learning, you really should pre-teach key vocabulary terms, particularly as they relate to the game, and that's not just technical terms. And we'll provide a list. My wife is an English language learning teacher. She's studying that right now. So she's really awesome to do this. And by pre-teach them in English rather than Chinese. They might want the Chinese definitions of things, but really, because they're trying to learn English, it's good to use this experience as a way for them to improve their English skills. So we'll have some simplified definitions that might be useful for you. While playing, don't just let them play and leave them alone. Watch them, ask them, interrupt their play, ask them what they're doing and why, and then allow other people to help them with coming up with an answer of what they're doing. I know that some learners prefer a one-on-one. Some really want that support from their friends around them in their team. Another reason why it's good to play the game in teams. And then we are going to ask you to collect some written feedback from them. So they can do the feedback in English and Chinese, but we definitely want the English. Again, it's an English language learning experience for them. But it sometimes helps them to write the Chinese first and then translate. Cool. I apologize for speeding through. Here's what the game looks like. Actually, it's already out of date. This is what it looked like 2 weeks ago. It is a game about these cards on the left. These are buildings. This is a city that you're building within. Everything has costs. You are winning. You win by having the most prestige, these little star points. You require cash, but you will go into debt so you basically need to manage your debt to build these things that will do actions that will give you points. So a pretty complex system where spatial relations are important. So some things like to be next to other things, often by color. And all the colors have icons as well, but they're kind of hard to see because we have so much text in the game. We've been fighting against using the term zones. Because the game has no urban planning, there's no zoning in it. It's kind of an experiment with what does it look like if there's no zoning? Can the developers actually zone themselves? A little bit of the American model. It kind of looks like my hometown in Virginia sometimes. But if you spend extra money, you can invest in infrastructure that makes good things happen for other people. Basically, building this park well creates these bonuses where if I built a yellow or a green on one of these green fields, I'll get a little extra cash, but the person who caused this to happen gets a prestige point. They get a little bit of reputation for doing that. And so a lot of what the core loop is, I'm going to do something that costs me cash right now, but in the long term, somebody else is going to take advantage of that, and then I'm going to get rewarded through reputation for that action happening. There's also bad things that happen, pollution. Factories get built that they can cause pollution. If you spend a little extra money, they might cause less pollution. And then very, very unrealistically, gas explosions happen all the time in the city. Every turn, at the end of your turn, one of these tiles is just going to explode. And so if you build it well, it'll just get damaged, but then you need to repair it. But if you build poorly, which most players, when the first time they play, they want to build poorly because they don't want to go in debt. Like, that's one thing with the Chinese students. They don't. Debt is this bad thing. They don't understand managing your flow, going and having some debt that allows for credit, whatever, that allows you to do well in the future. So you build these things poorly, and if an explosion happens, your poorly built thing explodes, and then the thing next to it explodes, and then it kind of just travels along.
So we're in a fracking area.
Yeah, basically. It's a really bad, it's like there's wind damage, there's gas explosions. You played SimCity and you unleashed Godzilla in your city. It's kind of like that, but it happens all the time. So the basic things in the game, practicing your skills and understanding cash flow, basically having interest, we have a really high interest rate. You can build poorly and without debt, but you'll damage yourself in the future. So really, you need to build well while taking on debt. You need to pay off your debt occasionally. If your debt gets too high, your interest rate kind of explodes. So you're kind of managing this math problem in your head. And that's one of the things that I think the Chinese students don't get a lot in their games, is all this math, which is actually pretty common in Western style board games. So if they're approaching this as, this doesn't look like games I'm used to, that's one of the reasons, and it's okay. There are the incentives for building, like I mentioned before. Developer actions cause changes in the city. So this is when we see if they come up with, like, what do they call the strategies they have? Like, are they trying for a mixed use thing? Are they talking about having an industrial zone? If they're talking about, one thing we've seen is when they play cooperatively, they might come up with a zoning pattern and then try to match that zoning pattern and see if they can do it or not, which is always interesting to see them do. The game doesn't tell them to do that. They played it once, failed, and they adopted that strategy as a way to play. And there's really no one better strategy than others. There's enough randomness in the game that everything kind of gets is difficult to do. There's like, all strategies have their weaknesses and strengths. So they just need to figure out which ones are they going to try, and how is the random number generator gonna treat them in that game. And then a big part of it is dealing with problems. So like I mentioned, there's pollution and inefficiency. All the buildings can be improved in some way. One thing that was great that Elise mentioned was the idea that in China they're demolishing all these buildings all over the place. It's actually in the game. It's often cheaper to just demolish a building than repair it. And so that's a great question to ask. Well, is that ethically good? Is that socially good? The game is saying that that's one of the strategies of the game is to do that. Is that actually a good thing or not? The game really has, for the game's point of view, it's a thing that you can do, but it's very neutral about it, other than the fact that it's just easier cash-wise than the other thing. Before we play the game, any questions about the general?
Yeah, you mentioned you can play this with people. Is that because you're sharing the same board, or you're just seeing their performance?
Oh yeah, you're all sharing this. Thank you. You're all sharing the same board. So that's the one difference between. Oh, I don't need to go through it, but that's the one difference between board games. Most city building games, when you're playing with multiple people, I compare my city to yours, and I'm building in mine, and you're building in yours. In this, it's tragedy of the commons. We're all building in the city together.
Okay.
So my decisions have a very direct impact on yours. I'm planning for, there's this one spot that I really want to have, and you might take it. So what can I do that's above the gameplay to convince you to not take that, or do I just kind of cross my heart and hope that you don't take it, and you don't see the advantage I see? Or if we're playing cooperatively, there's no negative side to it. We are just talking about it, and we're planning it out.
So there's like a Settlers of Catan.
Ish, yeah. Like imagine Settlers of Catan if you were playing cooperatively and not against each other. It would be a very different game. In this game, and you can do the same thing. Some people will play this competitively, some people will play cooperatively. I recommend just playing a co-op the entire time and comparing, if you're going to do any kind of competition or comparison, compare one city, one finished city after the end of the game to another finished city at the end of the game. We don't give you a metric for that, which is a great opportunity for them to come up with their own success metric. What do they think a good city looks like?
And we tell them to try to cooperate, or we don't tell them anything?
You would tell them that you are a team and you are a team. Make your city well. We'll see what they look like at the end.
Cool.
A common thing to do is they just add up. Each player ends up with star points. They just add up their collective star points and say, well, we got 300 points and they got 250 points. Is that actually a good metric? Probably not. That's why I like to ask them, would they want to live in the city or not? Is it a good-looking city or not? And that's where they come up with things like, well, we weren't very good developers, so nobody probably wants to live there, or we really tried, but we had this problem. We couldn't manage, the industrial waste that was coming into this situation. So for ice breaking, it's really good. For if you really want to go deep into some of the concepts and bring those more advanced technical concepts in gameplay, that's where you would do the board game version, where we'll provide you with a print and play version where they have the cards, they have the buildings, and now all they need to do is change the rules. So you can we've seen students make a zoning game where they literally draw out what the zone's going to be like, and then they dole out the cards and see if they can click the cards together. That's one way to do it. Some just try to take one mechanic from the game and twist the card values, like change the values of cash, or allow them to trade. Like right now in the game, I can't trade cash with another player, so they might do that in a board game. From a research point of view, I want to see what kind of game designs they come up with, what kind of ideas they pop up with. They don't have to be good ones, they don't have to work, I just kind of want to know what they do. If we can keep a record of the games they make, either through just camera phones, that's great, we don't need any of the paper. So mainly for what we need from you, I need to actually confirm the CUI's training, if that needs to happen or not, for you all. Which if you haven't done CUI's before, it's basically just a 3-hour session where you answer questions.
Get depressed.
What's that?
And you get depressed.
And
about
get depressed,
all
yes.
the unethical research.
Exactly right. You're packaging and delivering data for us. Basically, all that means is we're going to ask you to fill out index cards, which are small sheets of paper, and keep them by legible. Just keep them in an envelope so they don't get all crumpled up. If you want to just take pictures of everything, that would be great too. And also, this is a big one. Make sure the students understand they're in charge of their own play, and they might not like the game, and that's okay. And they might think the game is wrong. I usually just say, "You're right, it is. Why?" That's the learning moment right there. That's for them. That's them reflecting on what they've known and expressing it to you. They're either learning English if they're doing it in English, or if they're doing it in Chinese, then they're being a little bit more technical about it.
For the digital version, will you supply us with tablets that we'll bring? How does that work?
Yeah, we're going to supply you with some tablets to bring. We also have executables that they can install on all their devices. So yeah, the test protocol, I'm actually going to give you a better version of this that has the exact questions that we're interested in seeing. And we'll give you a survey that you can use. So we'll give you some test tools. For the most part, observation. So observing at least the first time you play the game, just observing them and noting down what they do. Do they like it? And if not, why? If not, monitoring any discussions with them. So what kind of topics are they coming up with on their own versus what are the topics you need to kind of prime them with? One thing I always love to know is, do they already, because they're in a classroom playing a game, do they already make the jump and the connection to the material? Or do they need an instructor to kind of prompt them with stuff? So every student's different, every gameplay is different. It's just interesting to see when it happens, what they came up with. What was that one thing that made them think, oh, this is this, I've seen this before. Written reflections, we ask them after they play to have them time. Basically when you play, it should be about, the first time they play it should play about 30 minutes. It probably takes about 45 because of just setting up devices and stuff like that. And then after every time they play, 30 minutes of discussion at least, or if they're not discussing, then just go straight into their written reflections and then writing down their own reflections. But without the reflection period, there really is no chance of learning to really happen. They've already forgotten the game and they've moved on to whatever else they're doing. So yeah, this is what we're providing you. Game executables, we have got it for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac OS, and Chrome. For the most part, most of our students have iOS devices. some have Android, they have phones, some have tablets, it works on both. Windows and Mac is basically for you to have. I'm going to give you all these executables in the next week, so you can play it on your own before, and you can ask us questions about it. And the Chrome build is more for the STL lab. The game has a tutorial, so I'm hoping we can have some method where we can give it to the students before they arrive, and they can play the tutorial on their own. If we can't, it's a technical problem that we're running into. We'll give you the hardware you need to install it onto their devices. For iOS, the worst case scenario is we're giving you a laptop, or if you already have a laptop that you're bringing, we're installing the developer tools on it, so you can just install it to their device. Even better if I can get them to do it. If we have a coordinator we can coordinate with, and we can get it done before you arrive. For the high school, I will probably be there for the entire week with the high school group. For Changqing, I'm not sure if I'm going to be there or not. I'd like to, but it just comes down to flight time. We'll give you the test protocol, we'll give you the board game. It's a print and play version with the rules, but they're all going to be in English. I'm going to give you slides and videos, so these ones, the better version that Elise had, and also some videos just on playing and learning. If you're just interested in playing and learning, it might be helpful. If you want to actually have, with the high school students, I highly recommend, and I can even help coordinate this, doing a specific lecture on why am I asking you to play a game, and why am I not giving you a test or making you read a book. For them, it's going to be both very, very strange and very, very familiar. They're going to be used to playing games, but they'll rarely see this kind of play happen in a classroom. Although I don't know, with this high school, I think it's attached to a university, and I really don't know the background by it, so they might actually have some more Western style curriculum in there, but I really don't know yet. And then the English language learning guide, so basically the vocabulary list. Cool. Let's play. 3 people, do you want to play?
Sure.
Yay! So we're gonna play 2 3-person games.
I'm actually going to step out in a second, so I don't think I'm going to be able to play the full round. Is that
Okay, that's fine. You'll start and I'll jump in and finish for you. We set these 3 up on network play. So there's 2 ways to play the game. There's with network, and there is pass and play. For the most part, you're probably going to be playing pass and play, but I hope we at least get some network play going on. The issue is Wi-Fi. What's that?
What's the opposite of pass and play?
Online, so devices connecting to each other over the network, but there are Wi-Fi problems. So the default, the fail-safe is you're playing and passing the tablet around. In that case, you might want to use the tablets we provide. You might not have enough, so you're using some of their devices. Larger devices are better. That's why we also have the laptop version. So if you already are bringing a laptop, you can have your laptop in one of them. They have their own laptops you can install on their computers.
Challenging not. With laptop, we can't really all see the screen.
Playing like together.
You're all kind of sitting in front of it and making decisions. Tablet is the best way to do it, but it's not always available.
So is this a group of?
This is your group of 3.
Oh.
And Tim, by the way, is the programmer and developer for the project.
Awesome. I think this is super cool. I don't think I've ever really
So you need one person.
seen gaming like this.
Okay.
It's really cool.
You're gonna
The research feedback
first one is
part of it
set
is
the number of pairs the
really
default
interesting
to
to
4.
do.
Cool. Yeah. So one thing I can do.
You guys won't have to do it.
So either before or after you do your final presentation, you can find where your curriculum is, basically figure out how much time you can devote to it, and then I can consult with you at any point before you to kind of help figure out the specifics.
So it defaults.
And like I said, I'm going to be there for the high school part.
The other defaults there's no reason that's wrong. You could.
Alright, so what's going on is here's our city. The city has a river on it. The city starts off with 3 buildings being pre-built by the city. And we have these little lead icons. These basically mean if you build there, you'll get extra money. If somebody had put that red icon there, they'll get a prestige point. People like living next to the river and building next to the river, so the river immediately gives you the field. As soon as it's built, that field goes away. So it's a one-time.
It's just random.
Industry, when built, normally produces pollution. People don't like to live on polluted spots. green spots can be built on polluted spots. They can repair it, but it costs extra to repair it. And then otherwise, our colors, we tried to match the standard zoning colors. So brown is industry, red is commercial, yellow is residential, green is green space, public space, and this blue are infrastructure and services. So player, let's clockwise, player one. All right, you have money. You start off with 20 coins. You start off with 2 prestige. You start off with no debt. You want to build one of these things. If you build one, you can take a look at it. It tells you what it costs. It tells you how much you get for building it. You scroll through.
What does poor mean?
So poorly built, sturdily built.
Cool. So you can actually.
A little bit of investment. You'll just basically pay more money to get some more prestige.
I touched the.
Pay more money to create 6. I think we're calling them commercial fields,
Gotcha.
and others will have different kinds of fields.
Oh, that's super interesting. Wow, this has changed a lot in
Yeah.
a year. Good for you guys.
So, first thing you probably want to do is, what do you think you want to do first?
So you're gonna select
I
parts
wanna
of it, and
build.
it should automatically load you guys into the room.
I'll just do a small solar.
So you're gonna leave
Well, do
one.
you want
and
to
you're-
build,
you're
do
ordered
you
in
want to
the-
have money when you end the turn, or
You
do you
guys
want to
join.
go for prestige?
You're gonna be there too.
Alright, cool.
And then you'll all
Then,
come from the same city.
To build this
And
all,
I think
small
you
solar, you'll need to
pay
borrow some
attention
money.
to the instructions.
So right now it's gonna cost
These
you-
represent contracts that you currently have.
Let me go to the
And
Word version.
This is your prestige. This is the number of cash you have.
It can cost you
Points,
$10,
The debt that you
$20,
have.
or $35.
And the
For $10, you'll just get 2 points.
The resources that you collect.
For $20, if it's
So you
next
can-
to any other
for
brown
example,
field,
this guy's
you'll get an
gonna-
extra
he's
prestige
gonna,
point.
let me just walk you through one single turn. He's gonna look at his
And
buildings
then
and
for
he's gonna
35, you'll
expand,
also get
say,
some more money.
One
How much
contract
do you
have
want to
a look
spend
at
on it?
what it
I'll do
offers.
this one.
This is
Alright,
how
$20
much it
bucks?
costs.
Yeah.
You have $20?
This
I
is
can
a
just.
So you
the build
click,
path.
so this is the
For
weird
example,
thing
this
that
is
some people need help
quality
with.
build.
You click anywhere
This
there
would
and then you can
building
move
it
it around.
scalable.
And when you place it somewhere, there should always be a time when you can say,
that the
like,
cost
if I place it
will
there,
increase. So you can
do you really
cycle
wanna
through
do
these
that
to
or
see
not?
what the benefits.
Okay. Should we be looking for
On the
glitches?
right side is a
Um,
field that is going to generate.
Yeah, while you're
This is
playing
the
it, if you ever see any bugs,
It's gonna generate
basically
like
if
a 30
the student
field.
says something like, this doesn't work, just say, oh yeah, you're right, you found a bug. Even if they didn't find a bug,
If you
just tell them
upgrade
they
it,
found a bug.
it's not going to generate.
Make a note of what it is,
But it's going to have a synergy
and collect all
in
that.
addition, it's going to have a synergy. with
But yeah,
the
for the most part,
red buildings.
most of our bugs are UI bugs,
And
like this
the color
doesn't
of the
display
building
right or something.
represents its.
Cool. What is the 10 degrees?
So that means you'll get
Call them
10
super-
coins
they're
if you're
kind of-
next to
so
any
it's like
green field.
Brown
Oh,
would
yeah,
be
yeah, this is
industrial
what I
building,
Or
want.
green building.
green would be a cultural building,
Alright.
yellow would be like housing, and blue would be services. So red would be red would be.
And I'm
housing.
sorry, what did.
Red
If
would
you're
be
next to a brown
commercial. So they have
building,
these
you'll
symbols.
get
This
one
is
prestige.
housing.
Well, actually, no, if you built
This is
poorly,
a cultural
so
building, this is an
you will
industrial
just get
building.
the
So what you'll do
cash
is
that you get.
you'll
You
cycle
can build it
through
anywhere you like, though.
have a look at the buildings.
Alright, and then hit the
Okay.
check mark.
I like this building. I like this.
Alright,
This
build.
Oh,
thing is
so
going
cool.
to generate
Okay.
10
Money.
coins.
You get prestige, you get a neighbor
10
bonus.
coins.
And then,
This is a
before you
circle.
take it,
That's-
so
this circle's gonna-
Oh, I
You
have
could, you
to-
could do more
You
actions,
build it
you
next
didn't
to
need
a
to
green
take out
building.
any loans or
Yeah.
anything,
Okay.
you don't need to
So
do
that's
anything,
what
you
we
hit this
call
to end your turn.
like a neighbor bonus.
Oh, so you can do a couple different things. You can do a couple different things if you can afford
Let
it.
me just walk through
Did you-
this. So
After you've finished your
Let's
turn,
have a
you
look
can
at,
get new
what's
contracts,
up
you
here.
can get cheap
Has
ones,
synergy with
mid-range
red.
ones, and expensive
it's on the
ones.
board that there's a red building there. So we
I'll
would
do
like
it.
to
Should I
build
have a mid-range one? Or do I
this
need money?
workshop.
You need money to do those. Like, so,
Alright.
so,
I'm just, should I do it
May
to
not
show
have
or should
enough
I?
Yeah.
cash. It costs
Whatever you
money
want.
to do
Okay.
that. We could build
well,
it.
you always need to get cards, don't end your turn before
Sorry,
getting cards.
cash, but
What should we do?
So go ahead and click
yes, we can.
this
So
one or this
what
one, right?
Play will do is go
And
to
then
the
just take a
bank
random
and
one?
borrow. There's a maximum amount that you can borrow based on your current.
And now you can do it one more time.
So the more.
So at the end of your turn, you can
more
always
cash
take
you
2
can-
cards,
So
and that's basically
I wanna
giving,
borrow
if you think of it as a hand of cards, we're calling them
Should I
contracts.
just? Did you? I think you can
So
walk,
we got
take
see
over.
the years
So
in
you want to borrow
restaurant.
10,
Alright,
and then you're gonna.
Then we pass it.
Go back to your
Wow.
actions.
I'm
and this is the thing with
so-
pass and
Open up
play,
the workshop.
the students often don't,
That's
like,
right.
they won't, they
You
forget to
drag it
tap the
over.
end turn, or they forget they hit the, when it has that blank screen,
The red is
they'll
the
tap the black
economic
screen
zone.
before passing it to the next person, so they
By
can see
default,
the
it
person's.
started off across the river, but that's just when
hand.
we decided.
So the contracts
It's a-
are adding to this.
It's a zone in which you get extra bonus for
Yes,
building on.
yeah, so
And
you start off with 3,
Yeah, you should build
and
it.
you'll, every time you end your turn, you'll get 2 more at the next turn.
Yes. And then what does the river indicate?
The river is more an aesthetic for the board, so it's like it's going to either be a diagonal river or it's going to be like a horizontal river or it's going to run along the edge
You
of
say
the
if it falls apart.
So how's
that's
your
the
turn?
fine.
I don't think you will have
If you
enough
build
cash.
sturdy, you won't get a fine.
You
when
can
it falls
do
apart.
build as many as you would like per turn, but you obviously are going to run out of.
Okay, so you can't do
So
that.
this is the number.
So
of turn.
right now you don't
That's
have
how
enough
you
cash,
turn.
so you need to actually
That's
go to the
number of
bank
rounds,
to
inside
get
the
the
game.
money for it.
So
And that was a default.
default flag
So-
rounds. So you click your enter and it brings you to this menu.
You get
Is
5
that
bucks.
an interest rate too?
Yeah.
Oh
Contracts
my gosh,
to refill
there's
your
so many
hand.
things.
You
So
are
that you do that. You always do that at the end of
You
the
can
turn.
go back to the
Um,
actions.
Throwing more contacts has no bad benefit. It's just a way for you to like refill your hand and get more options.
So I can choose 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, so you choose 1, 2, or 3, and the way that the contracts are divided are into 3 categories, like cheap buildings, moderately priced buildings, and expensive buildings. So you'd want to start
That's a
with
bug.
the cheap, since
Like
it's
the-
early in the game.
the value that it's giving
You want
you
to
for
start off
that.
with the cheap, drawing the cheap buildings
Error, I
first.
think.
Right. So you
So
can just.
I mean, do you always want to take 3?
So if you ever want to see what, so right now you've got no cash,
Yeah.
and the next turn
price
if you
range
click
for
the
this would be
chest
about
there, it'll
around
tell you
20.
you'll get 45 cash at your next turn.
Yeah, that's sort of the cost for it. So
And then you have to draw cards, right?
yep. The card that you got. You can draw. You draw 2
And these
two
do they
returns,
mean
so you can draw.
So these are cheap, these are moderately expensive, these are very expensive. What that generally means is like 10 to 20 to 30,
No, just
Um,
this turn.
30 to 40
Okay,
to
so-
60,
No,
and
that's
like 100
rolled on
plus.
a random tile.
And they
No,
cost
that's-
real
so
money.
It's now your turn.
They cost,
If you have any
so
questions,
they don't
just
cost
feel
to
free
draw them, they cost when you
So
build
I
them.
can't do anything
Ah.
until.
You can
That's not a
you
good
can-
point. I think
Yeah,
that's,
you can look at your
I'm
buildings.
getting
You can
that
cycle through
question
your
a lot.
And the green
We
leaves
just
mean that we shouldn't build
changed
there?
our art.
The green leaves means that it's a cultural zone.
Yeah.
So that's
So, okay.
So you want to build something cultural there?
you'd want to the green buildings gives bonus to housing. So there's a help function. Help button here.
4, you
You
can pay
bring
these
up,
people.
and see
The,
what
right
exactly
now
you feel
we've got it
does.
just
So
running
for
for
example,
5 rounds, and that
You
takes
can have
about
a look
30
at
minutes or
so
so.
sorry, residential.
It's faster with the
So-
network version than the passive one.
Gives bonus to.
And
It gives
our
a bonus
goal
bonus.
is that you should be able to play a full 10-round game in an hour. So we're asking you to play the game at least twice, if not 3 times during the weeks. But it's also that was back in the 2 weeks, so it's up to you to figure out if you can how many times you can fit. The first time play the 5-round version. The second time play the 10-round version. Yeah.
I wanna make sure I understand these things.
Yes.
Like, so if I put it next to red,
Yes.
I get
So
points each time, and
that's
then
where this money
means,
came
like,
from. When
you
you
can't
build
put it on a.
to prevent like someone
That means it will
10 buildings
remove
in a row and
pollution.
just
Oh, okay.
cycling the rewards. The money, the reward that you get for building goes into your
Yeah, it's
bank
really awesome.
and all your
Do you
chests.
play a lot of games?
So
Not
That's-
anymore.
and then you
I
get
wish I
the
could
chest
play
is
more.
That is the
transferred
common
to
answer.
your current cash at the end
That's
of it.
kind of why I like the way that you even explained like the different things that are going on when you do it. There's so much that I think isn't immediately obvious, you know, when you think about playing games.
So it's a page.
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
number.
The one of my
Pays is how much
favorite
money is going to go into
professors,
your chest. That's how much the reward.
James G. out
That's- that's
Arizona State
where
right now.
the
He's got a
reward
book.
is. Yeah, that's what your reward is.
Things playing video games will teach you about learning and literacy. Like games have helped us as learning scientists to understand how people learn, because and what good learning looks like, because everything's expressed through the system. You're in this encapsulated system. There's all these feedback methods that are going on, which just don't exist in much. That doesn't mean old curriculum is not good. It's good. It's just we don't know what's going on half the time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really
It's all stuck up here. We don't know if there's any transference or not.
Yeah, no, it does everything.
Why is this a 4?
So that means you've got 4 turns left until the end of the game.
Oh, okay.
So before I do take off, is there anything you need from me?
No,
You
you're
have
good.
to.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to meet a whole bunch of people who are here from China right now.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
So
I'm assuming no relation
Yeah, go
to
ahead.
this is for China Lab.
Yeah, China Lab.
Awesome.
What's that?
It's a class we have over at Sloan at MIT where we.
Oh, I forgot to turn this into a player game. So I'll be player 4.
We partner with, I think it's 6 or 7 different universities in China, and we go over there for 2 weeks, and then they come over here for 1 week.
Oh, cool.
But when we're there, a lot of
you
them
have
are
to
very
draw.
busy,
Mhm.
which is tough. It's not ideal for us because then we don't get as
So
much of a
and your turn.
kind of local
Like that.
view.
Yeah.
The same thing that happens when they come. So I'm trying to like make myself available, but it's like end of April is
Yeah.
like a horrible time.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna try to at least see them before they leave tomorrow.
So does the game end when the board is full?
No, so when the board is full, you need to start demolishing buildings to make room for more buildings. And you can actually build, you can demolish things at any point you'd like.
Realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of complexity in this game.
How
Yeah.
familiar are you finding they are with the terms like I saw in your presentation condos and townhomes or buildings, to me, those
They're-
are the same.
Yeah, it's so for the most part,
Is that something
that's, we're still tuning the actual words we use for everything. They're not gonna know a lot of it. The difference between, like, one of the things I've had to explain is flats. We used to call them flats because we thought they might know the UK, and they didn't.
Oh, into
So condos they might know,
Yeah.
townhomes they probably
How
don't.
would I know?
But again, it's a
Even
cultural.
in the US,
Yeah.
Needs repair.
some places are
So if you
some
look
places they
at the
are.
icons,
Somewhere, yeah.
if it's the
So really what it comes down to is the card looks different, the card has different values, and that's really all that matters are the
color of
numbers.
the background.
And the
means
fact that it's a housing card
it's not
versus a
damaged.
commercial card.
If it's a
Okay.
The names are really just there for flavor.
Oh, like
That-
something
that
else
would be
about
nice.
it.
Additionally, you should be able to
Color
select
coding.
Yeah, and actually,
and you can see that the strength is
when it comes down to
medium.
your turn, we'll show you the
If
home
you
screen.
select the
Okay.
industry instead, you should see that it's sturdy. So like the different categories
Okay.
of
Sometimes there are
of-
icons too, like
current buildings.
farmer's market
Yeah, they're not.
doesn't go with shopping cart.
We used so
Okay.
the version that Heather saw had a Chinese translation.
It's,
And we
always
had the time to do that for that game. We did not have the time to do it
Yeah.
for this game. It's
also
also
going to be 22.
the feedback I got about them wanting to really focus on
Alright, I'll
English
take
language
one.
learning made me just not want to invest in that.
Yeah,
Eventually-
it's very-
Eventually maybe, but for now it didn't feel like it was necessary.
Yay.
The
Okay,
let's see.
cool. That's it, right?
Yeah, so like some like
Oh, you just wanna
sometimes
take off
basically
half.
they might even not even
Oh, I see.
they might
So
get
you
so
can do more
frustrated
than one
at
thing.
times
at
they just start
one
ignoring
time.
them, and that's actually
That's
fine.
fine.
When they give you feedback about the game, they might say things like the graphics suck.
And you're like, yeah,
I know they
dude.
do. And I've tried figuring out ways to kind of communicate that's part of it, but they don't. It doesn't click, so it doesn't really matter.
Great new interest.
Um,
That's it.
Yep. When I'm doing testing for most people, even here in the US with game players, they don't quite understand that things look bad for a very long time. Like it's a year and a half development,
Yeah.
mostly
Does
part
this count
time.
as an extra red if it's a
Um,
crossover?
Yes.
It's gonna
it
look
is
bad for a lot longer.
Adjustable.
It's looking better now than it did before.
And you
It was only 30 cash.
So there currently is like one of the bugs is that it's not displaying the correct amount of
Have you always
cache.
worked in
But you should have
educational
seen.
games or did you do
Um,
different?
You should have seen
I'm
60.
getting into education.
Nice.
I started out, so I've been at MIT for 10 years. Game Lab's been around for about that long. I started out thinking of just about games and play and what do we do and why do we play. And now we're working
So if you
closer
wanted to-
with the education
Knowledge,
arcade.
size,
It's another lab that we're that
Okay.
is part of
Yes.
this. They're focused on education.
Yeah, I'm
Both
actually just gonna pay my debt.
classical like people in a classroom educate like institutional education, educational policy,
So you can't
but
borrow money
also
when it's not
games
there.
and simulations for education.
I was trying to.
So for me,
Some cash.
Yeah, well, you gotta.
I'm interested in how teams work and creativity and how people work together. And education's a place to study that, but it's not my focus right now.
So you got expensive contracts here, what's the real
Ooh, Pearl Market.
disaster's turn?
Yeah, we have. I think the Jade Market might still be in there too. Oh yes, this is another option. You can pay Prestige to choose instead of getting a random one. It will just give you a choice, so you can choose one of those if you're if you're trying to get a specific kind of thing. Yeah, the hitbox is really small on that one. That's one thing that.
So cool. You guys are doing such a great job. We love it.
So this is a home screen here. So this has all the icons are explained again in English. So how you're supposed to win, when the game ends, so at the end of the game, if you have every 30 cash you'll have, you get an extra point. What our resources are. Here's the icons. So we've got graphics for all this, so you can create like a PowerPoint if you wanted to. That's what often.
Yeah.
And then here's how the fields work. What some people like to do is just explain the entire game to them or run through the tutorial in front of the class. So sometimes it's just easier to just give them a little bit and then to explain as you play.
Yeah.
There's also, then here's how the neighbor bonus works. So like, we don't know how well this works. The health screen has not been tested that much. So if anybody uses it, it'd be great for us to know. If there's any problems that people have with it, it'd be great for us to know, other than there's a lot of text.
Yeah.
And we're hoping we can reduce the text by the time we give you a build.
names and
for you.
just numbers.
So the numbers are.
Actually, this is
you currently
his
own.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just.
So you play
Oh,
for
sorry.
It's not really important to know who owns the other buildings.
So how did I
the number,
get
if it has a number, that's just a quick.
So what happened was
You're the one
you
that
got
owns
money
it.
from the turn, it went into the chest, so you had 0 money, and then at the beginning of your turn, the money in your chest comes to
Currently
you.
not inside there,
Okay.
but.
So you can't,
That's
so what we did with
one.
this,
in like real world terms, this is revenue from my development
Maybe.
project.
exactly, like that, so,
Which I didn't count.
yeah,
So-
the one way people think about it is this is a contract,
And
you build it to pay for it, and the next turn you sell it. So by the end of the turn, you've sold that building, and someone else is now managing the building.
Oh, interesting.
But then
Okay.
there's this connection
like-
So
between
it's
like,
not recurring.
There is a.
no, there's no recurring
rule
rents or
for
anything like that, it's
If you have the
entirely,
most prestige.
we
at
built
the end
it,
of
we
the
sold it,
season,
we're done with
at the end
that.
of the rounds.
We used to have rent,
You can't see what
it was yet another thing of complexity,
Yeah.
that what we found just wasn't
get to
interesting.
see.
Okay.
Like for the most
Other
part,
people's
the
current
things we're trying,
resources.
that we're honing in on, the things that are interesting,
So.
are the spatial relationships between buildings, and the idea that
Yeah.
the city's gonna change over time, and the things you did in the beginning have an effect of what happened at the end.
Okay.
Is it Matt?
It's good.
There is a.
Oh,
I
a
believe
limit
in
on
that.
the quantity you have.
You get
Okay.
20 coins
That
for each
happens.
screen next to it.
You need to
That's
connect.
both now and in the future.
Consoles.
This-
Like,
those-
just consoles.
that's the one weird thing. So if this
So,
thing
How do I do that?
stays
Expand it and then just.
and doesn't just fall
drag it.
apart, and somebody else
Yeah.
or you builds a green next to it, you'll get more money for that happening.
Cool. If it were possible to have that green under pays, I think that would be a little bit more intuitive to me.
Oh, that's a
Because
good
now I'm
point.
seeing it as a cost. and
That's
not
absolutely right.
a benefit.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking that, and you didn't say anything, but that was how it was.
This means it should. What does this mean?
So that means that's a penalty for an explosion. So if
Okay.
an explosion occurs, that's because the
I'm
more
so
expensive the
impressed with
building,
what you guys have done.
the
here.
higher the penalty.
Like it was cool the first time, but this is just like.
I
super
think
awesome.
most of this happened. When did we switch to hexes?
Around October.
Yeah.
You guys are doing awesome work. It looks great.
Oh no, my building is damaged, but it can be repaired.
Oh no!
And there's interest added to my debt. You don't want to be a developer. Okay, and red
What is this?
can only go.
So
in-
that's the field
No,
is going to
anything-
change.
anything-
I know.
anything that's-
you're
What's the
investing
significance
in
of that
a
economic zone?
commercial.
If anything is built there, you'll get a bonus 10 coins for building
Okay.
there. And if you were the one who created that zone, that field, you will get a prestige point for someone having built there.
I was being irresponsible last turn and put up 50 coins.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna,
well,
your interest is gonna
So
balloon.
it might happen that someone might disconnect. In fact, I could probably just show you that.
Sure, you've disconnected.
So
I can't play when it's disconnected.
I don't know about this. It's actually a good test.
And is there any means the river being brown instead of blue in that?
It's just showing, it's just
Someone-
one more thing
someone
showing
just-
that we put industry there, it's causing, there's some waste going downstream.
Oh, that's
And it
cool.
should
Purely aesthetic, there's nothing in there about,
So we're still.
like some of the stuff has
Yeah,
no
you're
like
still
system.
it
like-
just it stops at repair.
I assumed it was a bridge.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
But then I'd be out of my.
Do you remember what it's for?
Yeah.
Across the river.
Yeah.
Because it was there from the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's also
I'm gonna
yeah.
try to redraw it.
Because I
Yeah,
can
if you,
only
so if you
count
built the
20
industry
words.
there, it would have,
It's gonna do-
then you
it's
might,
gonna-
and you might think the other. So
Yeah,
essentially,
exactly.
You might,
Mhm.
yeah, alright, no disasters, yeah. Interest, ooh.
If you want to record the game, you could just like this.
Yellow.
Would it allow you to repair something that doesn't have to be repaired?
Random question. Do you have any
no.
other games that you recommend? My boyfriend's really into gaming. We just started playing like Betrayal of the House on the Hill. It's super.
Oh yeah, I love that game.
It's so good. And Pandemic.
So board games?
Yeah.
How complex? Like is Betrayal?
You can only borrow
Do you play 2-player, 4-player?
We sometimes play as 2 people, but as 4 people. So
Okay.
like we'll play 2 different characters when we're just
Yeah.
playing ourselves. So like
You should get some
friends.
Really
I should. It's like a sad reality. But also the game is so long that whenever we ask people to play with us, they're like,
Yeah.
Build a housing.
no, we have lives. And I'm like, you don't
Means
want
if
to
you
come
build a
over
house,
for
they
3
will
hours?
start
What do
giving
you
you
mean?
Cultural zone. It's gonna give you.
If you were playing with more people, I recommend Bang,
so
the dice
there are
game.
ways to
Bang
clean that up.
Is a fun one. It's a very
And if
quick
you see
Western themed game where you are
perhaps you see it, there are ways to clean that up.
you're trying to figure out who's the traitor. So it's got that traitor mechanic that Betrayal has, but you actually you know who somebody knows who it is from the beginning, and then you're playing a team where you can figure out who it is and you want to shoot him. So you're trying to shoot the bad guy.
That sounds exciting. We were playing Coup.
Yeah, it's got the same kind of thing.
Always got a bottom.
Revolution and Avalon are also similar.
Bang the dice game. You're fine.
Oh, and it's gone.
Oh, it's something exploding.
And if you like Coup, you'd like Masquerade.
Play this game.
Wow, that's a
No disasters this turn. Interest added to debt. That is so rude. Let's see. What else do I want to do?
Can the interest rate be changed, like in the versions where they change rules themselves?
Yep, if they're when they're doing the board game, they can decide what they want that to be.
So if there's no
And they can
black
decide how much things cost. All the cards will have
There's
the
no
costs that are on them right now.
property,
But it's all paper, so they can scratch
Yes.
it out.
So I mean,
Okay.
And
And
draw.
then
when
the
you, it's only when you go like a weekend building that you're penalized.
Where should I
for
put this
building.
temple? Do you guys
If
think?
What is the temple like being next to?
I forget. Also,
Uh,
why I thought it was 50 cash to build the temple.
Oh, that's a bug.
Okay. Okay.
So it looks like it likes being next to yellow, so that's a pretty good place for it. There's really no place where there's like lots of yellow around it.
It like where did it go?
Oh, another bug. It just disappeared, so it's back in your.
Back in the hole.
Yeah.
Back over. All right. So it just likes being near yellows.
Yeah. Yeah. So
this,
that's a good as good a place as any.
Okay.
You have too many
Maybe I'll
cards.
build
You're limited to 5
And if you're able to
cards.
afford to
5
make it
contracts.
bigger,
So
you would be able to put green fields all the way around it, so that if somebody else built a yellow next to it,
some have
they would get a bonus, and because they built it next to your temple, you would get a bonus because it was yellow.
so
So it's just kind of like things that go back and forth. Some of them have a direct relation to
say okay, I don't want
to some of the concepts. Like so for that one,
drag this
I need to get some actual FaceTime with Sichi. She used a term, I cannot find it if it's real or not. Externalities.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so she was relating it to that. We had debated whether we wanted to bring those kind of terms into the game and decided against it, since we didn't know if they would understand the same thing. Oh, hand limit, you're allowed only so many cards, so you need to drag one of these into this spot to get rid of it.
Oh, interesting. But yeah, I think that's something that we could just teach, like in vocab and discussion.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, it's kind of like implied or intuited.
Is it because I only have that much or?
And yeah, so the reason
How
one of
do
the
I
reasons-
drag it?
the same way that you normally. So yeah, click the card to expand it.
Oh wait.
So what if I blow up to
So
70?
how much you currently have.
Because it's showing
Those are your
you
points.
sturdy costs
This is
instead
the
of
back
the
of
core costs.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay,
Thank
so I
you.
borrowed 15
Yeah.
plus the.
Come on,
So-
little puppy.
So click it again.
Okay, makes sense.
And then drag it
no,
from there,
drag this
yeah.
thing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I remember now.
So.
Your scene
Cool.
first.
Cool. Very good. Alright, so I'm sorry. There's Bang the Dice Game, Revolution,
Uh-huh. Avalon
Avalon, Masquerade.
and Masquerade
I'm
with a
gonna
Q.
give us some green space
Masquerade
because
with a Q.
I feel like that's.
How else do you spell Masquerade?
Poorly.
I was like, wait a
The
second.
start is prestige.
Alright, cool.
So when you're describing the two scenarios of
That's
4 players against each other or 4 players
the pink star means
as
that
a team,
when you build next to
Does
it,
it
you're gonna get one
look
prestige
the
back.
same? Like you're
If
still
it was-
It's
you're working
the
at
game is exactly the
Okay.
same. It's the
It
it's the rules. It's how it's a social contract we have as game players. So with pass and play, it's very easy for us to say, hey, you should do this, because you'll help me
There's a
later
bonus
on.
I
of
see,
building.
okay.
Alternatively, you could have like we've actually had people where they had 5 players, 4 players were playing as
Okay,
developers,
okay.
and the 5th player drew a zone and then was watching the game and would have to find people, but you had to find people on the spot. If you didn't see them doing the bad thing, then you couldn't know if
the last
they're doing
last
that
game I
or
wanted
not.
to know kind of like this
Like
is
kind of mimicking
what
regulation.
the town needs. So if you select.
Oh yeah, that's a concept I didn't mention. This little icon there,
So that's like the
with this little
industries of these
spinning
things.
thing. The town
What you want a
tends
town
to
that
want
has.
things. So right
So
now
it's
the
gonna-
town wants
It's gonna keep
industry,
track
and
of
if
what
it does,
is
if you build industry,
on the board.
you'll be
You'll get a
rewarded
bonus
for it.
if you attempt
So it's
to
kind of
balance
another one of
the-
those, that's kind of where the people are in the game, if they exist at all, is they have needs for certain kinds of things, which really they just want to see a balanced city. Like if you don't have industry, then they want it. If you have,
Too much industry, I know.
yeah, if you have like, they might want commercial, they might want one of the other ones. And you can build multiple times in a turn if you can afford it.
Sort of the price.
Oh, I forgot that, okay.
So, do they fine you if something explodes?
Expose. Yes. So if
I'm
you
just
don't-
wondering why the money went down.
went down. So if
Yeah.
there's if you cycle through, you
Try
can see
the top part of
there's
it.
an explosion symbol there.
Okay.
And that's how much you're gonna lose.
That part needs some
This-
work.
if you were to build
I
it,
don't think we've touched that in a while.
upgrade it, you won't get that penalty.
So, is it if something explodes during your turn, or is it something
It's-
that you build?
It's penalty is based on ownership, so
Okay.
it explodes at any turn, any point in the game. If you're the one who built it poorly, you're the one who's gonna be penalized.
So
Okay.
the explosion could happen this poor and standard ratings.
Could you rephrase?
So this explosion could only happen under the poor.
Poor, right.
There's flooding.
Oh no, but it can be repaired. Alright, 96.
Where's the music going from?
It's that,
All of us.
yeah. We
I
had,
think I turned mine down.
we're gonna have the music
Oh, that's fine.
disableable, or just purely disabled when we.
Yeah.
We do have sound effects, which I think are useful. The music, we just wanted to make sure that we could do synchronized music.
What dance parties are made of?
It's also, I don't even know, do we have license for the music?
I think it was like license free.
Okay, cool.
I like that. Yeah.
So fun. Such a fun game.
Turn left.
What would high schoolers like to play this game with?
That's the one.
They were pretty interesting. They were really shy. So it was kind of, well, two of them were really shy. One of them was really like outgoing. Really
So
fun.
what happens like when you pick
Um,
them up?
There's always
on
one.
contracts?
Just like outlandish high
Contracts themselves are more
school.
expensive?
They
Or are they better?
they didn't
Could you rephrase?
they weren't as critical
You know how, like,
about
the-
it as
Yeah.
a
So
learning
if you-
experience. They
that's
were
the
critical
one
about it as a game.
Yeah.
Whereas the undergraduates were incredibly critical
Like
about
what
it
he
as a
just
learning
picked at the
experience.
end.
This
of
is
the
not right.
turn, you know how
Land has cost. There's no, you
pay
don't
for the
have
next
to
contract.
pay to build it
and
here.
It's like random
Yeah.
calls.
Oh,
Okay,
right,
not
right.
my
So
game,
that
your
is-
game be like. How would you do
the
that?
Yeah.
And so then
The
when
deck of
they did
contracts
the
is
make your own
divided
board
into
game, then they could
cheap
express that.
cards.
Yeah.
It's actually something we
Moderate
want.
cards,
It's
and
just
expensive
another.
cards.
It's just yet
Expensive
another
cards are
complexity.
infrastructure that's
Yeah.
What we're hoping to
expensive, like
show
airports,
is
hospitals,
land has inherent.
railways.
Assume that everything you have to pay
It
for
costs
it,
more,
but
it
some
costs
things
more
are going to
benefit.
cost more than
So
others.
it's
Are
another-
going to be
if you have
because we're all
cash
competing
flow,
over it.
you
Even if
should
there's
draw the
no.
cards.
I'm not
If you
paying
don't have
for
the
it.
cash flow, you
I have to
can
pay
get
for it by getting rid of the
something
thing that was
cheap-
there.
cheap
There was the
taxes
opportunity
on
cost. I could use it now, or I could wait and hope I had the
Cash
opportunity to do it later.
at the end of the game.
Yes.
You just prestige you end with that.
So every
So
extra
yeah,
thing-
so like, games are actually
Your-
perfect at like
get
these kinds of
subtracted
games
from your
are
cash.
perfect at economics.
Every extra 30 cash that you have.
Particularly
is converted to percentage. I
economic
think that's
concepts.
that's inside.
Because that's just what they're built.
Some
That's
point.
that's what the
Maybe,
game is
yeah.
built on.
And for every extra 30 cash you have at the end of the game, you're gonna get one prestige.
How does you get so much cash? I have like 2.
Did the reconnect work?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I'm not making good decisions this time.
So we do have it so that if
After this, I want
one of the devices loses
Yes.
connectivity,
Yeah,
you
we'll
can
have to
re-download the whole
So
game
you'll
and
have-
play it.
This will be your last.
It might
last
take
turn.
time and it might just not work.
When you
because
hit
of the-
this and it says one up, then
whatever the
it's
state of
random.
the network ends up being.
Oh, sorry. Just like totally spaced. Alright, so.
So you have the option to take no contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you choose that option?
I don't know. I think if you didn't want to have to get rid of one of your cards, if you liked all your cards, if you just don't like doing this part of the game at all, like this is kind of a not fun decision to make. to get rid of something.
Here's
There are 2 7 bad one.
It's a little terrifying. But I also only have $5. So I feel like so much debt. I know, it's so much. I got excited. I was like, I'm just gonna borrow 50
You should
without
do something
checking.
other than commercial development.
Never. Just kidding. What should I do? Drag? Get rid of butcher? No, I should keep the butcher. I should.
I'd get rid of the shops, the market,
Yeah.
or the restaurant if you think you're gonna have that.
Really expensive.
Yeah. Or just I can't afford it.
So click.
Oh yeah, click and then.
Try. There you go.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. You get fit boxes and do that.
So,
So this one is done.
so you can compare these are 2 housing buildings. You can compare the icon in the background. This one is like it's
So here's the other
it has a white
bad thing about the game.
Mhm.
What's going on right now?
the housing symbol.
We're not
It's
engaged
nice
because our screen's not in front of
Yeah.
us. We
Yeah.
check out.
This, like I
That's
just
why
bought this,
having
like,
some
why
kind
is
of
it
like
already broken?
collaborative, we all have to be able to
Oh.
make, like some of us might be more
That is-
interested in
so
like
that
helping
doesn't
make
mean
decisions or
that
not, is one way to get it, to do that.
That's not.
The other thing though is when
included.
people check out, it's
Yeah,
okay.
so this
Like it's actually pretty mentally
That is-
taxing, and they might just not break until it comes
that
back
is
to their
the-
turn.
Could you
It's
adjust
not-
that?
if it's flat,
Well,
it's
just one
damaged or
player
weakened.
with all
If
that?
it's clear, then it's
Um,
goes fine.
Oh, that's
You can
a
also
good
click on the tab.
Oh yeah, I mean you could.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is that.
yeah.
That's a good point.
Like how
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
multiplayer.
Yeah, that's a good.
So competitive
Um,
versus
those
collaborative.
ones
Can
will,
we play?
if exposure appears on the
I never thought about
Yeah.
that. That's a
If we
great
really
idea.
are on a team,
Yeah.
then it should
It's
be
like
like my
levels.
turn.
Yeah.
Because we can choose how many. So
That's a good
because we can choose how many rounds you
Maybe
do.
you
We
can
can
also-
Okay.
auto modify that. I know we can make it as few as 2. I know we can make it as more as 4.
Yeah.
But technically, it's just reducing a player, and it's fine. So yeah, I think we can. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I think that might
Yes.
help.
One player with like 40
Just
rounds.
clarify. Yeah,
That's a really good point.
That's a good point.
and
Oh,
then
this means.
you could still be like, oh, you choose this one, or you
the
choose.
whoever is-
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just like invites people. It's the base level for who's playing what
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah, I'll try to test that between now and then just to see what it's like.
I want to explore this repair.
Oh yeah,
demolish
so
feature.
click it to expand it. So it costs you $20 to repair anything, and it costs you the coins on top of it to demolish anything. So if you want to repair, you just drag.
So am I done?
And
And-
how do I know what this to repair?
These
So how many has
black looking ones and these white
Mine
ones, so
says
the black
Oh,
ones
zero.
are
Yeah,
broken.
so
Kind of see the
yeah,
brokenness
guys
to
have-
them.
I guess you
Those
just
are all
want
damaged.
one
If
extra.
you also tap anywhere,
Oh.
it should tell you
You don't have equal number of
information
turns.
about it, so it's weakened.
You all gonna have
Whereas this one,
So this is
3.
that is your turns remain.
So I'm
Um,
gonna try
Okay.
pigs,
yeah.
repairing.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. How many explosions are they gonna be?
And then if you to demolish it, you would click the demolish.
Zero.
Do you always get
And
received
then
for repairing no matter what it
drag.
is?
You do not get any rewards for
And then you can demolish
it's
it.
more of a safeguarding
Like
against
install
disaster.
animation, it goes away.
So
Oh, that's so
you're
cool.
taking a personal hit, but
Yeah, why not?
it's for the good of the
There's a
team.
payout at your final
Please.
turn.
Helps with
Yes.
my
I'm
business.
gonna repair this.
That's an.
Click it to make it that highlighted, and now you can drag it.
No, I see. It's the green is the highlight.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's alright. I'm swimming at like 100 right now. 110.
When you subtract, if you have negative debt at the end of the game, what does your scoring do?
Negative debt, like you
So
you had zero cash.
zero cash, you had all this
You
debt.
have debt.
What does the debt do to your score?
I believe it should subtract the same ratio
1 to
that
1?
you would gain.
Oh, 30 to 1.
Yeah,
Which one?
30 to 1.
30 to 1, okay.
Oh, it subtracts prestige.
if you have,
Or cash.
well, first it's gonna subtract your debt from your current cash.
Yeah.
If you're still in the negative, it's gonna convert that to either positive or negative percentage. But the ratio should be 30 to 1.
Cool.
That's so cool.
Scott keeps building those things.
How much is it? So here's the thing I always forget, is how much it costs to clean up pollution. So we've got all this pollution down here. So if I want to be a good person, and clean it up by building a park, it just costs me 20.
So most.
Oh, I didn't think about paying off debt too.
Yeah,
And
so if
so
you,
what's your experience of, you said they're not as familiar with the concept of
okay, they're
borrowing,
not familiar
but,
with
like,
it at all.
does that system actually exist?
Yeah, I mean, so to build anything, you need to take out a loan from the bank. And there's a few banks. For individuals, for like an individual having credit, it doesn't really exist. It's the same thing. It's actually very similar to when I talk to friends in like Europe when I talk to them about credit cards. Like I was talking, a friend of mine was here, and he said the one of the weirdest things he found when we moved to the U.S. was he had to go into debt to get good credit, which did not exist over there. So it's the same kind of thing. Oh, man. Do I have any cash left? I'm bad. I'm gonna have negative cash next turn. That's still supposed to happen? Do you have negative cash?
In your chest? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And we also have this experimental feature that I just tried out today. This is our last round.
Last round.
It was
Yeah.
you can reduce the complexity of the game, so you can remove the fields, you can remove the
It really bothers me.
Built it sturdy.
Yeah, I was just gonna
you can
say,
remove the
it
fine, you
really
can remove the fields.
bothers me.
Oh, you can remove the
that
upgrades.
A building.
And and you can only build sturdily. So if you want, if they wanted to play just a more simpler game, if they really, really reacted violently against it, that might also help too.
So, question, because I have 9810.
Chaos
Being
and dead.
flagrant.
Build something simple.
Yeah, I was thinking about building something simple or building townhouses.
And so for most of these things,
Like
you,
up here.
you can build something poorly, which gets you additional cash, but it doesn't give you any of the synergy the neighbor bonuses.
Yeah.
You can build something to really maximize on the neighbor bonuses, and that'll give you like a one-time, like to build sturdily to get those bonuses, you don't really get profit from building it. You only get the profit from having the things next to it.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, getting out of that hole
Yeah.
with just on the last turn is really hard.
Everything.
And the game is actually tuned for 10 rounds. It's designed so that after 10 rounds, you would actually
Alright.
That
I'm just
means
gonna
how
move
much
be able to
Essentially
you'd be able to go
lost
into the hole
from
and
the
get out in a
not
single turn, in a
repairing
single
the
game.
loss.
With a 5-round game, it's really hard. Like once you've made bad decisions, it's really hard to get out of it.
Alright, I'm just gonna
He
put
lost,
butchers
so
place
he
randomly.
He lost
Over here, here we go.
10 prestige through explosions.
Yep, build it.
That
Wait,
one.
Slap it on.
You
Oh,
lost.
okay.
You lost nothing.
No, I meant like this word.
30
Oh,
hole.
fine isn't like.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, that
Fine.
kind of fine. Oh, as in
Oh, yeah,
Fine.
find over cards and stuff.
Yeah.
fine losses? Is that or
Oh, I have no money.
I'm just trying to figure
Trying to
out like
understand.
is it like not aligned with the right because like is it 0 prestige so I lost it?
At least fine.
Oh, like fine losses is
One
thing together.
sentence, right.
Gotcha. Okay, okay.
Should that be a different vocabulary word?
What's up?
At the end game screen,
Uh-huh.
the word fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe it's
And
like
losses
fine
as well.
or losses.
Sure,
instead
the
of
losses
fine.
are already
Oh, it's
included
fine.
in
It says
these
they have to be
terms.
fine losses.
It's building poor
It's
industry.
yeah, it's should be.
But is
Yeah,
that fine
it's
or
gonna get
fine?
really
I think
forced
we should take some
everywhere.
track.
Why not?
I mean, yeah. So this
Right
is
next
the
to the
history. So this is.
Do it.
It might even be a location of where we do it. So like this just means this is what
Yes.
these are the kinds of
Chaos.
fines we've gotten. So you lost that over the time, but yeah, you're right about placing,
Nice, good job.
representing it differently.
Yeah.
And eventually, I mean, in a later version of the game, assuming we get additional funding, we want to have like graphs and charts and stuff, so you can kind of keep track of it.
Dashboard.
Cool.
You play free?
We're just
Yeah, I have to run through.
Appreciate the walkthrough. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
We could just, yeah, there you go. So if you want to take one of the tablets with you, you can. If you would prefer us just to send you the link to the game on for your own device, we'll just do that. It's your help.
Trust myself.
Yeah, no worries.
Another thing to take care of?
Yeah, they're cheap, they're like
Yeah.
150. What's up?
Can you also send me everything that you're
Is that cheap?
sending now, just so I can keep it
Yeah,
all
I will.
in the file? Alright, perfect.
It's cheap when it's not my money.
Yeah. Alright guys, I'm gonna send you guys an email tonight, just with some sort of the PowerPoints from Elise, and just sort of, I don't know, just some reminders for next week. Do you guys need anything specific? I know we asked this, but is there anything you'd like included or anything?
How much should we go into the high school version versus the cheap version?
That's a great question. I mean, I think you can, if you have something, you can pitch it, but I wouldn't stress about it too much, just because so much of high school will be gameplay anyway.
Okay.
And we haven't established from our high school contacts about what they want the curriculum to look like yet. You know what I mean? So I think if you.
that too.
Yeah, and you need to know that too, yeah, so we can, if you have some ideas, you know, even just like a mock idea about like, we have a week and this is what we wanna
Double
talk
day.
about, yeah, that might be good, but I wouldn't stress about it too much. Again, it's super low key, it's not, cool, I just wanted to, it's more for you guys to get feedback on your ideas, and this is very much an in motion process.
And then for Hong's part,
Sure.
should we put in like, just like placeholder
Are you going back to the lab or you want to stay home?
I'm gonna need to
After
take
one
that.
on the
I
two.
could pass
You know,
on
you
that
can just
on
do
way
the
to-
first week, really, if you wanna include that, just to follow the format.
Oh, cool, yeah, if you could.
Sure.
Yeah, if you could have that'd be great. And if you're going a different direction, that's okay.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's.
Are you implying that Hong is fully responsible for the second week? We didn't plan anything?
I think that you guys should be prepared to have things in there, in terms of what you're presenting next week, I wouldn't worry about it too much. At this point, Hong has continuously said that he has the second week, but he also then talks to varying degrees about how much you guys are gonna be included. So I don't know therefore how much you're responsible for planning.
Maybe we'll find.
Are you going to start with the lab or I guess?
Yeah, if I get any info from him too, I'll email.
Yeah.
But you should be good. Thank you guys, have a good one. Thank you guys so much,
Thank
that's
you.
awesome.
Absolutely.
No problem. Have a nice
Super
evening.
helpful. Do you guys want any food to take home?
Yeah,
You want it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll be in touch.
last year, we shipped a lot of stuff to
T-shirts,
China, right?
yes, correct.
T-shirts. Yes, this year we are gonna make the T-shirts in China,
Yeah.
so it's easier. But we already have some gifts we need to bring or ship.
We're gonna bring them, because they're really small. I can actually show the swag stuff to you.
Oh, I know that, and